ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by Aaron's. With over 1,400 stores nationwide, everyone's a lucky dog at Aaron's. And DirecTV. Ride shotgun on race day with NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV.
Back at Talladega Superspeedway, let's take a look at our starting grid where a 19-year-old from Texas starts his 7th ever career race from the pole. Brad Coleman will lead him down. And while you take a look at our starting grid, let's visit with our in-race reporter, driver of the Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota, David Rudeman, who starts back in 15th position.
David, Dale Jarrett, have you got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
David, I know this is an exciting day for you. You've got a great paint scheme on that Aaron's Dream Machine. But just got a quick question here. We had a restrictor plate change the other day after practice. From a driver's perspective, how does that change this race?
You know, it's hard to say, really. I mean, they told us the speeds were pretty high. They slowed them down, made them a little more sluggish off the racetrack, but you're still only seeing about maybe 100 to 150 RPM drop through the corners. You know, it just kind of sounds the same around here.
All right, David, good luck today.
All right, man, you guys have a good day.
All right, let's visit with his crew chief, Jerry Baxter.
Hey, Jerry Baxter, Andy Petrie up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Andy, how you doing?
Pretty good, Jerry. What kind of changes did you have to make to your car with that smaller restrictor plate?
We went through the whole gear ratio scenario there, you know, trying to get the thing right. They went back and ran a motor that night and seen what the horsepower loss was, about 24 horsepower, and we just changed gears accordingly.
10-4, I bet you're hoping the rest of those guys lost more than 24. Hang tough down there, Jerry, and have a good race, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys, we will have 8 high-definition onboard cameras. We'll ride along with 8 different drivers today for 312 miles at Talladega. When we come back, we'll wave the green flag and get some last-minute updates from our pit reporters on pit road as we come back to the world's fastest stock car facility, Talladega Superspeedway, in just a moment. Back at Talladega, the green flag just moments away as we check in quickly with some final stories from pit road. First, here's Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, last time we saw Kevin Harvick at a restrictor plate race was in Daytona. He won the Busch race and backed that up the next day with the Daytona 500 win. I asked him about his chances today. He said, my car drafts well, it's good, I'm here for the win. Mike?
For Kyle Busch, race 1 in Daytona very much set the tone for his season. He led a race-high 46 laps, only to have mechanical failure erase what could have been. For Busch, 2007 has been accented by flashes of brilliance, but punctuated by bitter defeat. Today marks another opportunity. Busch is driving the same car he dominated with in Daytona back in February. But today he's trying to do something here that he couldn't do there. Go the distance and get to victory lane. Dave?
Mike, most of the time to win a restrictor plate race, you have to have a drafting partner, someone to push you to the front of the field. Well, at Daytona earlier this year, no one could push Dave Blaney because he had no rear bumper. Early contact on the track ripped that off. Today, with a full bumper on that number 10 car, Dave Blaney could be the Toyota in victory lane. Alan?
The championship leader, Carl Edwards, starts 9th today with concerns. His car had a small vibration during qualifying, but because of NASCAR rules impounding the cars between time trials and the start of the race, his team couldn't do really anything much about it. They're hoping an early caution tire change will alleviate the problem. We'll keep an eye on it from down here on pit road. Doc?
All right, thank you very much. 312 miles, the Aaron's 312, 117 laps, and a purse of over $1.34 million. Well, a crowd of over 100,000 diehard fans are on their feet as NASCAR's Busch Series finalists prepare for an afternoon of high speeds and high risk here on the high banks of the world's fastest stock car facility in Talladega, Alabama. As they head to the green flag, let's listen in as we go full throttle.
Ready? go, buddy. Stick with it. Come on.
You clear high. All clear. Way to hang tough, man.
Four is clear. One side. Single file.
Two wide. Right with you.
Outside.
Clear. Inside. Three wide to middle. Clear. Up on the front. Two inside.
Out of turn 4, 19-year-old Brad Coleman trying to become the 37th different driver to lead a lap in NASCAR Busch competition, and he will do it as the Chevrolet for Joe Gibbs Racing leads lap 1 here at Talladega.
Well, I tell you what, I bet they hope they got extra batteries up there on top. Those spotters were sure talking a lot. A lot of communication up there.
A lot happening right now. See Tony Stewart kind of opting for my strategy to start with. He's at the back right now, but huge pack in the front of the right here right now. And this is just going to change continuously all day. And the spotters' jobs here, I mean, they're so far away trying to see everything that's happening, but to having a good spotter here is invaluable.
There's Tony Stewart in the Chevrolet, owned by Kevin Harvick Incorporated. Back there behind Donnie Neuenberger. Stewart in the 33 car, the Old Spice Chevy, opting to go to the back of the pack and stay out of trouble early on. He has 4 NASCAR Busch Series starts here, but has never finished a Busch race at Talladega.
Boy, the action's up front here right now early. These guys are jockeying back and forth trying to figure out who they can draft with.
Yeah, we see the first 5 have gotten single file there. The racing starts from 6th on back, and of course that's back to about 26 from that point. But it won't take long before they'll be trying to take the lead away from young Brad Coleman.
Guys, here are the 2 Ganassi cars, the 41 of Reed Sorensen and the 42 Juan Pablo Montoya. They're in the back of this gaggle of cars.
We see that middle groove working pretty good. That middle slot, the 99 car and the 5 car working together, working that middle. And they got, once they get up to the front, they got to move out. They got to find a line to get in once they get there. But that middle works pretty good when they get 3 wide.
You're exactly right, and it's amazing. It used to be where you never wanted to be at Daytona, Talladega. You never wanted to get yourself in that middle position. But the way the cars have changed, the drafting's changed over the years, and especially with now the pavement that we have here, how much adhesion you have to that, you can go anywhere you want, and that middle actually opens up because they're splitting the air on both sides of you, and that air is not there, so you can get a good run. But you're right, you do have to find somewhere to go once you get up in that top 4 or 5. You've got to find a place to get settled into.
There's the 33 of Tony Stewart being shown back in 39th position.
79 is what the...
Let's check in his pits with Dave Burns.
And Jason Leffler with a problem on track too, guys. Tony's car popped out of gear, and one of the things he was saying that he just said 79, it went to 7,900 on the rev limiter, but that's why he dropped way back. The car popped out of gear.
All right, yellow on the track for the first time today, and Jason Leffler, who qualified 3rd and pulled up on lap 1 out of turn 2 very high, now having troubles. And Dale, he's had some contact with the wall.
Yeah, he has had some contact with the wall, and wonder, we'll see right here if something else might have started that contact.
Oh, he got a little bit of a tap from behind.
Yeah.
Turned him straight into the fence.
Yeah, you know, this is part of the bump drafting that goes on here. And I think this is just a product of that.
Top of 2 now. Top of 3 again.
It looked like a pretty straight bump, but it just turned Jason Leffler's car to the right and got him in the wall. Didn't have much room to work with.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes you're actually right there in that position. Jason Leffler might have been in a position where he was having to roll out of the throttle just a little bit. And when you do that, sometimes your car will just move around on its own. And so he may have been correcting the wheel a little bit to the right, and that bump is all it takes, and you're straight into the wall.
All right, we are under yellow for the first time today. Lap number 4 at Talladega. A bit of a tap from behind, and Toyota driver Jason Leffler has significant damage on the side of his car. They come roaring out of turn 4 at 190 miles an hour, and it doesn't take much to have a problem.
So far this year, and Brad, I know right away there was some bump drafting out there, and you've got some questions about that.
Yeah, Andy, you know, last year, the Cup Series, DJ and those guys were beating the crap out of each other with the front end of their cars, and they asked them to soften up the front ends of the cars. Did they do the same for the Busch Series? Because they'll see the bump drafting already taking place.
Yeah, well, Brad, they did kind of mandate a little bit softer bumper in these Cup cars just to kind of take away some of that. But the Busch cars, they can brace them up all they want. And I talked to some of these guys down there, and they have been bracing them up front and back. And that's probably a good thing to keep from tearing the cars up. But, boy, it sure does transfer a lot of energy. And we just saw that with that 38 car. And, it may not be a good thing.
Yeah, and really because these guys, with the aero package that they have, the closing rate on the car in front of you is even greater than what we have in the Cup Series. So they need that bracing there not to tear it up. But on the other hand, they have all of that, so they get actually a harder shot. And in talking to these guys, that's what they say from the Cup Series over to the Busch Series is when they get a run and hit somebody, it's a pretty good jolt. And as we saw there, it can create a problem very easily.
It seems like all the time we see these problems at a restrictor plate race. It's on the straightaway. They're always turning on, wrecking on the straightaway. Hardly ever in the turn.
You know, we're supposed to be the greatest drivers around the country, and assembled, and certainly talent-wise, that's true. But how many times, if you go back and count, how many times are our wrecks on the straightaways? It's amazing. We're going straight, and that should be the easiest time. But again, getting that jolt that you get, it can create a problem. Again, all you have to do is have the steering wheel turned one way or the other, and that's what happens.
All right, the field set for a restart here at Talladega. One caution coming out on lap 4. Jason Leffler's car behind while being repaired. We'll update that momentarily as we get ready to go back to full throttle.
Easy there. Don't pass. Just stay in line. You're good. All good. 6 right out here. You got the 24 by 1 back. Looking to go high there. Still right with you. Still all clear. 24 is right with you. Probably bumping you and pushing a little bit. It's all good. Still all clear.
Clear low if you need it. Montoya in your rear.
A little bit here.
25 behind Jemmer.
24 in there. Y'all gain your spots on some guys. There you go. Keep on running with them boys. Still in the middle. You're still in the middle. You clear low for a moment. Clear high now. You're clear high.
All right, the youngster, 19-year-old Brad Coleman still leading. Ward Burton having a great run right behind him in second spot in the Ford. There's a look at Ward's Ford Fusion out of the Bruco Motorsports stable, the former Daytona 500 winner, who hopes to be able to make up for the problems that were swept in an accident early at Daytona in the initial Busch race of the year. We've already had one incident today involving Jason Leffler, and he's standing by with Jamie Little.
Just 5 laps in, the first victim of the bump drafting. Jason, what happened?
I just got hit from behind. I know Casey Mears was behind me, and I'm sure someone got him, but when the way he got into me, it just lifted my back tires off the ground and screwed me right in the fence. I don't know, I'm just, no, I mean, obviously I'm pretty pissed off, and just really, really angry. But, I mean, that's the way it is. That's racing. Take the good with the bad, and get this great Clips Toyota up front next week.
Doc, that just capitalizes a frustrating and disappointing season so far for Jason Leffler.
All right, Jamie, well, contact, and Ward Burton is tapped. His car gets sideways. There's Rudeman's car sliding broadside into turn 1. Other cars up against the wall, against the concrete.
Keep it up straight. You're okay. Just lock her down. All right. We didn't hit nothing, guys. Keep rolling. When you get a chance, keep rolling. Pace car's just off at 2 there.
And Ward Burton's car, he was running second, got a tap from the high side. He tried to avoid the car coming down. He got sideways. Here's Martin Truex. There's the 29 of Scott Wimmer.
Tell you, real lucky that wasn't what we call the big one. Not too many cars. It only looks like this 29 car is the only one that's got any significant damage from that. That could have been huge.
Yeah, that had the makings right where it happened, obviously, with Ward running second of tearing up a lot of race cars. But these guys did a terrific job in missing that.
Let's see if we can see what happened here a moment ago. Now watch the 2 car and the 27 of Ward Burton.
Just a light tap there, but these cars they have so little downforce on this kind of racetrack, and they're kind of they're making a pretty good turn right through the tri-oval too, and once they make contact.
Yeah, you don't realize just how much in looking at this racetrack, how much steering you have in the car through the tri-oval, and it doesn't take much. And it looked like Ward, there's a seam right there in the racetrack where after this was repaved, when you're right down against the yellow line and you get to that first white line, there's a seam right there, and actually your car will get in that, and it'll actually move one way or the other. And it looks like maybe Ward's right front got in there and went up the racetrack just a little bit. I'm just guessing that happened because I've had it happen in my car before.
Here's Martin Truex onboard camera. He goes up and he boom.
Hit the wall, guys.
Oh, he hit the wall pretty hard, DJ.
Yeah, we didn't see that as we were talking about the 29. Yeah, this looks like it's going to put an end to that streak.
Martin Truex, who had won 3 in a row, and now damage at the right side of that car after pancaking the wall. Here's Mike Wallace on board with the Geico Chevy.
Backer. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Blue, that's it, go. You're clear.
So Mike Wallace uses his spotter and does a great job of getting low and avoiding the accident at Talladega. Well, lap number 9, it breaks loose on the front straightaway. A tap between Boyer and Burton, and suddenly we've got a dozen cars spinning back with the green in a moment.
This is why I'm hot, hot. This is why I'm hot, hot.
Back at Talladega Superspeedway, we are under caution for the second time today. An incident involving, on lap number 9, a dozen cars. Now, what happens when you take a former NBA All-Star with a passion for racing and give him a ringside seat at Talladega? Watch Brad Daugherty. Watch this accident here.
Brad looks like he's studying for a test.
Now, you think he's pumped up now? Brad Daugherty.
Oh, yeah.
7-time NBA All-Star right on top. There's our pit studio, our ESPN pit studio with Brad Daugherty and Brent Musburger and company. Here's a look at the drivers involved in the incident. Clint Boyer, no damage on the Boyer car. Martin Truex pancaked the wall with the right side of his car. A crinkle in the right front fender for Ward Burton. Scott Wimmer has the front nose pushed in. Marcus Ambrose and David Rudiman also spun in that incident. As we check in, where Alan is caught up with one of the cars and one of the drivers involved in this incident.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr., there's what's left of his car. And here is Martin smiling. I know you want to see what happened because you're not really sure. What did you see from inside the car?
Well, this guy spinning in front of me, and you know, I was good. I had a line through there. I was going to be fine. I just got hit from behind, so not sure why or what happened behind me, if somebody forgot to let off or couldn't see or what was going on. But just Talladega, typical deal. But you know, streak comes to an end at 3. It was a good number at least, but hopefully better luck tomorrow for sure.
See if we can show you what happened there. We'll pick up a little late where you could see it, but the streak comes to an end, and that is a sorry thing, and we're sorry you're out. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hey, at least it ended at 3. That's a good number, so we'll have better luck tomorrow, I hope.
Here we go. Here's another look. See if you can see what happened here. As Ward looked like he got up and maybe got tapped and then behind.
Yeah, just got hit from behind, you know. Nothing you can do about that. So, had a good car. Thank all these guys that worked real hard on it, and we'll be back and get them next time.
All right, thanks, Martin.
All right, as you look at that accident, I got to ask our experts up here, when you have cars that have contact like that, the 2 and the 27, who's the guy that everyone's going to say maybe could have avoided that?
Well, I mean, it's just such close racing. And again, going through that tri-oval, you have a good bit of wheel in the car right there. The back end is light. And again, I think that seam may have had a little bit to do with that, because the car looked like the 27 car may have moved up just a little bit. And that's not putting blame on anybody, because you're in there and the air's moving around everywhere. So things are just going to happen. But you know, it's unfortunate. But as long as we're going to run with these rules, these things are going to happen.
And you're going to run within a quarter of an inch of each other. These are the things that you're going to have happen. I mean, it's just when you're running that close together.
All right, let's get an update on Ward Burton and his pits with Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, just after the incident, Ward Burton radioed in saying he got a little bit of help, got pushed by the 6 car, which started that. Reminiscent of exactly what happened in February in Daytona when Ward Burton charged to the front and got caught up in a wreck running inside the top 10. They've rebuilt this race car from the A post forward and the C post backwards. Over the last 3 laps, though, they've done some more repairs, stopping on 3 consecutive laps. In the process, they've changed a total of 8 tires, because after changing the first set. They felt the vibration. They came back down to make sure everything was okay by changing all 4. Doc?
All right, Mike, thank you. It has been a difficult week for Virginia native Ward Burton. He and his wife Tabitha and 14-year-old son Jeb spent much of the week at Virginia Tech. On the campus there in Blacksburg, Ward Burton's Conservation Foundation is a close partner with Virginia Tech and the university. He has so many friends that teach there, and obviously it has touched the Burton family, not only Ward Burton but his brother Jeff Burton. But Ward and his family spent quite a bit of time there in Blacksburg this week, and still very, very touched and very saddened by the events of a week ago. So a tough beginning here for Ward Burton in the early laps at Talladega. Let's check in with Alan.
Well, Doc, Ward's brother Jeff is among the interested observers down here as repairs go on to this 29 car. Scott Wimmer behind the wheel today. Scott, I talked with you before the race. You had really high hopes. What happened in front of you?
I'm not 100% sure. It looked like 27 car maybe got turned around. And, you know, we run into each other the whole race long, and it's just hard to keep them under control. But I don't know. This car was really good. These guys are going to work hard. We're just going to end up points racing now. But proud of the guys. We'll get him back. You know, Jeff's a big cheerleader for this team, so he's down here helping out and trying to go after that owner's championship. So hopefully we don't get hurt too bad.
Thanks, Scott. Sorry for your bad luck today. Let's go out to pit road, Dave.
Alan, wanted to update on Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's always a story here at Talladega, but when he starts 25th and goes to fifth in 2 laps, we know he's got another good race car. He was involved in that, had a right front tire cut down. They came down pit road, changed 4 tires, and then Jr. reported a bad vibration. They brought it back down pit road again. As they took the tires off and changed that set, they checked to see if there was any suspension damage or brake rotor broken perhaps. Nothing that they can see so far. So for now, Jr. stays on the track hoping they correct that problem. Also, Dave Blaney on and off pit road, damage to the front of his car this time, and it's a lot worse than it was at Daytona in the rear.
And certainly when you damage, thank you very much, guys. When you damage the front of a car at a racetrack like Talladega or Daytona, it can be serious in terms of trying to be able to get the car back up to speed. As we retake the green flag here at Talladega, and the youngster again, Coleman, leads him down with a challenge from David Reagan behind him.
Yeah, you heard the disappointment in like Scott Wimmer and Jason Leffler's voice as they were being interviewed after these accidents. You know, they come here knowing that this is a really good chance that they have, because everybody has a chance to do well here, and you get down to those last laps, you have a chance to win, and that's been taken away from them early.
Yeah, we see that 18 car got a great restart, and I tell you, sometimes that can really work against you at Talladega. He got about 10 or 12 car lengths out on these guys. They used that momentum, and that they lined up on the outside and just moved motor right by.
All right, David Reagan takes the lead. He becomes the second leader of the day, the 21-year-old driver, driving for Roush Fenway. But take a look at the high side. Here comes the 42. That is Juan Pablo Montoya, and he will sail by, entering turn 1 and take the lead.
We look down on the bottom, we see Kyle Krisiloff in the 14. This is about as far up as he's been all year in a Busch race, so he's very confident. This is the kind of racetrack, though, that you can do that. These guys that you come into this restrictor plate race, I'll tell you, it can be anybody's race. Anybody can win here.
Yeah, you really can, and this racetrack has so much grip that it just gives everybody confidence. Handling doesn't come into play hardly at all with these race cars, and especially this early on. So guys just hold it to the floor and go as far up to the front as they possibly can, and we see Juan Pablo Montoya in the lead right now.
It looked like everybody just kind of hung the 6 and the 14 down on the bottom. Everybody lined up on the top, and it kind of sent them back in the pack a little bit.
Juan Pablo Montoya, the same car he had at Daytona when he started at the middle of the pack and was running into the top 6 when they broke a valve and had to call it a day. They knew this car would draft well. The question was, would he have the experience on this big track to be able to utilize the speed and the draft?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Does he have the experience? I mean, obviously, this is a totally different ball game than what he saw at Daytona. He's going to have to do a lot of blocking here to keep the lead, and how experienced is he going to be to do that? But he has so much talent and a good race car, and that's two things that help a lot.
DJ, he ran the ARCA race here last fall. In fact, he ran in the top 3 all day. Steve Wallace led most of that race. Montoya ran second and ended up finishing third. How much does that translate to what's happening now here in the Busch car?
Well, it helps a lot. Any experience that you can get being out there with other cars and other drivers, just learning what the draft is really about. And that is learning, how does it help you? You know, where can you make the most of it? You know, it's not just about being right behind another car or pushing another car. As we see Casey Mears going for the lead on the outside here, it's also about learning how close you can get, how much of a bump that you can give someone, and exactly which lane is going to be the fastest before the end of the day.
It looks like Casey Mears is looking for some drafting partners here, and he gets hung in the middle. We see the 22 of Mike Bliss go on the outside of him. Well, it doesn't take long. He was just fighting for the lead about 2 corners ago.
Yeah, you got those 2 Dodges up there in the front. Casey Kane really giving Juan Pablo a nice push there, and kind of pushed Casey Mears back to about 5th or 6th.
And with more on Casey Kane, let's check in the Evernham pits with Jamie.
Well, guys, we haven't seen a whole lot of great things to talk about from Casey Kane. It's been a tough year, but he told me right before he got in the race car, Talladega is all about your drafting partners. He said in practice on Thursday, he hooked up with Greg Biffle, who's right behind him in that 16 car, shot him from 17th to the front. Well, just now, guys, he went from 10th to 2nd in about 8 laps. He said he is desperately waiting for a good finish, and this is the same car from Daytona. He said he knows it has the speed. It's all about your dancing partners. Doc?
Exactly the same car. They never got a chance at Daytona, involved in an accident not of his own doing in the first 15 laps. They repaired the front of this car. He knew we would be awfully good here. And how about Carl Edwards? He took that outside line with Casey Mears with him, and they go to 1st and 2nd here on the field.
It looks like we see something developing here with that outside groove being the quick line right now. I don't know if it's just coincidental. The good cars are up there, but it seems like every time that the guys get up front, they form a line on the outside and motor right by. And here we go. The outside lane's working again for Tony Stewart.
Just like the other racetracks that we talked to, momentum is something that you really want. And here, the higher you are, the less wheel you have to put in that car, so you're slowing it down less. As a crew chief, Andy, you're always telling us, turn that steering wheel the least amount you can, and you'll go faster. And that's exactly what Tony Stewart's doing. They obviously have that problem fixed, and he's on the move right to the front here.
Dave Burns, Tony Stewart making a move now.
And that was really the plan at the start of the race, Doc, until the car popped out of gear. They qualified 37th. Crew Chief Dan Stillman told me that's about what we expected. So Tony planned to race right to the front. When the car popped out of gear, he had to fall back. And when that caution came out for Jason Leffler early on, he said, oh, well, that'll work, because he knew he could get back with this pack. And as long as that thing stays in gear, Tony will have a very good race day.
Yeah, Dave, but one thing I'd be worried about is they run really soft valve springs here, so these engines don't like to turn a lot of RPMs, and that thing pops out of gear. It could cause a little damage that may come back later.
I guess that's a caution that Tony didn't mind seeing too, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't. He wasn't questioning that caution play.
And back to Dave in the Tony Stewart pits.
And Andy, just so you had those numbers one more time, Tony did report that he saw the tachometer rev up to 7,900. That was 400 over the 7,500 he was normally running at. So what do you think on those soft valve springs?
Well, these cars don't like to turn the big RPMs like you see on these other tracks. 7,900 you would think would be safe at a lot of tracks, but here on these restrictor plate racetracks, they try to take advantage of every little thing. So, you know, it could be a little issue for them later if they're not careful.
All right, a couple of the Hendrick cars up front as Casey Mears and Kyle Busch now take the lead. Back with more from Talladega after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
It can start anywhere. You never know when it's going to happen.
It's like walking through a jungle and trying not to get snake bit.
You can be at the back of the pack or be running second and still getting a wreck at any time. Once one of these big pileups start to happen, you're just along for the ride.
Hopefully you're just in front of the wreck, and if not, you know, close your eyes and hope you make it through.
You can't really do anything about it. You just go out there and race and see what happens.
If you avoid it, it's just pure luck. If you're a lucky day.
It'll be exciting to watch. I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot of fun to be a part of.
Well, let's get up to date on what's happened so far with our NASCAR.com reset. It has become obvious at Talladega. The high line has been the money line here early going, and they are just kissing each other's bumper. Look at Juan Pablo Montoya there up on Tony Stewart. We go back up to the booth.
Great action up front. The 24 is Casey Mears. Brent, as the 5 car is teammate Kyle Busch, and what a tandem of drafters these two, the 24 and 5 are.
This is just incredible racing. I mean, these guys, Kyle Busch seems to be able to push that 24 car just out to a 5, 6, 7 car length lead, and nobody else has been able to do that. But we talk about the high line, but then the next thing you know, these guys come right back around on the bottom, chucked up together, and that's the key, is Kyle Busch is able to stay with Casey Mears and not just push him out and let him go. He's able to stay right with him.
Able to keep that gap just right against the bumper, and that really does make a big difference.
All right, Rick Hendrick has 8 Cup wins here at Talladega, but he's never been a Busch Series owner. His car's run 1-2 as we check in their pits with Mike.
Well, Doc, just a couple of years ago, Rick Hendrick got really discouraged with how badly his teams were getting beat by the DEI cars at restrictor plate tracks. Also a little bit discouraged with how there was a gap between his own race cars. So what did he do? He implemented a specialized team completely dedicated to restrictor plate racing. Less than a dozen people. Oh, and we've got trouble on the track, and it's Kyle Busch upside down.
Big time crash. Kyle Busch goes upside down and rolls down across on his roof here on lap 26. Cars comes back over and now side over side barrel rolls. And comes to rest on its wheels. A horrific crash here at Talladega on lap 26 involving Kyle Busch, and thankfully the window net is down. There the safety crews on the scene immediately, and Kyle Busch is climbing out of that car. Wow, listen to this crowd.
Well, that's a true testament to the safety of these race cars. See him just jump out of that car like that. That was what would look like a very violent wreck, but man, he just jumped right out of there. It's a real testament to the safety features that these cars have.
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you again here. That doesn't take much here. Now, Kyle Busch, left side of your screen in the 5 car.
He moved to the outside to go around Casey Mears. It looked like Tony was going to go out there to help him, and it could have possibly been a little bit of contact. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be, because you can get yourself out there, and all of a sudden the air's changing, and just a horrific wreck. But once again, Kyle Busch gets out and walks away.
We sure did a lot of damage. But it looked to me like right here, as we watch this, it looked like that maybe they all started stacking up. It's hard to say that Tony Stewart wasn't getting some help from behind, or maybe even further back than right behind him. Like they're all just kind of stacking up.
Yeah. Yeah, when that happens, usually because everything changes, the air changes, and what you've been doing right there, you might have been wide open at that time, and then all of a sudden things change. And so, you can't put any blame on anybody, I don't think, here. Although I think we do see a little contact between the 33 and the 5. But when he pulls out there, that car is automatically going to start coming back a little bit, because he's come out against a brick wall of wind right there. Even though he's got to run, that car automatically slows down when he pulls out there until he starts getting that help.
So but if you're Tony Stewart, and you're trying to get out of the gas and you're getting hit from behind, have you ever had that happen where you get hit from behind and you can't actually slow your car down and try to avoid that wreck?
Somewhat reminiscent of the Brian Vickers, Jimmy Johnson contact in the Cup race last fall. Inconsequential, wasn't intended to happen. One car makes a move, another one just gets a slight tap, and off they go. On board here with David Rudiman.
3 wide. Bracket, back it down, stay high, good job.
Hey, you can see the tire flying through the air. David Rudiman just went under the tire. It looked like he just ripped it right off the wheel.
Yeah, that's almost a helpless feeling. You're sitting there wondering what's going to happen up in front of you as you're within 100 yards of everything happening, but you have debris flying everywhere and cars going everywhere. Everybody trying to avoid it, but David did a great job.
Okay, leaders on pit road. Let's go in down to Jamie.
Well, guys, Casey Kane decided to roll the dice and stay out. He came over the radio after that incident and said, "What in the world was that?" The crew just told him, "Stay out, you're fine."
Pablo Montoya in, and 4-tire change. He stalls the car leaving. Tough to get these things refired, but he does it. A 4-tire change, chassis adjustment, tape off the front grille. Alan.
Casey Mears pitting from the lead, giving up track position to keep the 24 car here in the pit box so they can check the right rear corner of the car where Kyle Busch bounced off at the beginning of that accident. They have time. They know the caution flag laps take a while here. They know there's plenty of time left in the race as well. Make the repairs, give up the track position now. You'll get it back later.
Yeah, with the way the draft works here, you want to make sure you get your car all fixed back up, because you can make your way right back up to the front, but you got to have those aerodynamics right, and they're going to work on that car and get it right. We see them working on the 17 car here too, doing some of the same work.
Once again, we are under caution. A frightening incident on lap 26, the 5 car. 21-year-old Kyle Busch trying to make a move. His car goes sideways. There's contact and it gets airborne. And fortunately, Kyle able to walk away due to NASCAR's stringent safety requirements. But a horrifying crash here on lap 26.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by Aaron's. With over 1,400 stores nationwide, everyone's a lucky dog at Aaron's. And Hertz. Discover the many reasons why we're Hertz and they're not.
Under yellow here at Talladega for the third time today. That puts the 90 car as our Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. The 90 car, the City Financial Ford of Stephen Light, gets back on the lead lap as the Aaron's Lucky Dog Award winner under caution. Speaking of Aaron's, let's check in with our in-race reporter, David Rudeman.
David Rudeman, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Yeah, go ahead, DJ.
David, watching this race from the booth, looks pretty wild out there. What's it looking like from your driver's seat, and how is your race car?
Race car's excellent. Jerry Baxter and guys brought me an excellent Aaron's Dream machine here. And after that slide down through on the apron there, they got her pushed back out pretty straight there, and I think we're in good shape. Yeah, it's you think it's fun to watch where you're at? Man, it's wild. I'll tell you. I don't know. I'm afraid we're not done yet. You know what I mean?
All right. Good luck to you the rest of the day.
Thanks, man.
All right, I got a trivia question for you guys. Andy, let me ask you here. How many colors are on the paint scheme for the 99 car of David Rudeman?
It looks like all of them, Jerry.
And that's a correct answer. Indeed, this paint scheme was designed by a 9-year-old Marina Sampson from Madras, Oregon. She was the winner of a car art competition, the Aaron's Color Your Way to Talladega contest. She won it, designed the color scheme for David Rudeman's car, and she and her entire family are here all the way from Oregon to watch NASCAR Busch Series and Nextel Cup competition for the weekend. And hey, pretty good job of designing that car.
Young lady did a terrific job, yeah, using all 64 colors. And I walked in the race shop down at Michael Waltrip Racing last week, and they were getting this car prepared, and I said, oh my goodness, that is quite colorful and won't be missed. And so far, it's David's doing a good job with the race car, and hopefully he'll get that Toyota up towards the front before the day ends.
All right, we have had 3 caution flags in the first 30 laps. The most phenomenal one, the one that came out 4 laps ago when the 5 car of Kyle Busch spun and flipped. You know, with contact, he has walked away from the car. Heavy damage. Well, his car essentially destroyed, but fortunately, NASCAR stringent safety guidelines allowed him to put that window net down and walk away. And we are getting set for the green. We go full throttle.
Watch your outside. Go, 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 go. Good job. Clear by 2. You can drive that thing good as he can. 2 back. Good fashion. A lot of them behind you now. Let's get this guy. Outside, outside. Clear. Clear.
Double 2 back on the 75 and 6 back off of him, Danny.
Outside. Outside. You're all clear. Good job. All clear. Let's go now.
Got a pack of 3 behind him. Pack of 3 behind him.
Hang tough here. Really ain't nobody coming back.
Right inside. Come to your bumper here. Looking inside.
Bumper there. That's your bumper.
You 3 single file. Then it's about getting back to the group.
Inside the 20. Find up inside here. Got the 42, the 14. Stay up high, Shane. Stay up high. Stay up high. See it. Stay up high. Up by the wall. Against the wall.
And the 88.
Stay real high. Stay real high. Stay
88
real high.
car up against the wall, the Navy
high.
Chevrolet. As you see the field come rumbling down, and Casey Kane will lead the 12th lap he has led all year long. He has not led a lap since Bristol back in March. He leads him down, and there's Dale Earnhardt Jr. lurking in behind the 20 car of Eric Almirola. With more on Dale Earnhardt Jr., let's check in with Dave.
And Jerry wanted to give you an update on that vibration Junior was reporting on earlier. Still slight and constant, but not causing him a great deal of trouble. And obviously the car is still very fast. No tires on that last stop. He did view that wreck of Kyle Busch. He said, man, I haven't seen one like that for a while. Glad he got out okay.
Of course, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated trying to go for 5 in a row here. As you know, Martin Truex had won 3 in a row. His car now heavily damaged. He is out of it. Dale Earnhardt Jr., his last race here was back in 2003 in the Busch Series. He dominated the day. And he said in the pre-race, I didn't have the gear to qualify, but I have a great gear for the race itself, and he's showing it.
Showing it already to the front of this pack right now. And I'd like to make a call to the guy that's helped push him there, and that's Mike Wallace in that 7 car. You know, you talk about people that really enjoy racetracks, and Mike Wallace loves to go to Daytona and Talladega, and he does such a terrific job.
Yeah, we saw the 88 car coming off of pit road. He did make it on pit road. and they changed tires, and he's back out on the racetrack. We saw the leaders go by, putting him 1 lap down.
Yeah, he restarted and that restart in 4th, and it looked like it was tough getting up to speed. He must have had a really serious vibration or something and not able to come to pit road to change the tires.
Well, with all that debris that was on the racetrack there, on that cleanup, he could have just got a puncture in one of the tires and lucky to get it on pit road.
Well, we're back in the next lap and have another leader here.
That would be David Gilliland driving the Ed Renzi machine, and you looking at the front bumper of the 2-car of Clint Boyer, our most recent winner in the NASCAR Busch Series last week at Phoenix. He picking up his 4th career win.
We look here at the telemetry. We see this throttle. They don't back off that throttle anywhere around the racetrack. They just hold it right flat on the mat, and we see they don't lose many RPMs to get some real bump drafting going here.
And Boyer just turned hard left to the inside and took Carl Edwards with him, and now they pull by some 10 car lengths. Look at the 25 car caught in the middle and sliding back now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. You find yourself getting passed on both sides, and basically you're getting the dirty air and not a lot of help right at that point in time. And so you go sliding back 10 or 12 spots, but we'll see David Gilliland probably start back to the front here as soon as he gets a little bit of drafting help.
It's kind of funny how that middle works. If you're leading and get pushed to the middle, it really kills you. But if you're back in the pack trying to make your way up through there, it seems like that if that middle ever opens up, you can make some headway up through there.
And look at this gaggle of cars, 3 wide. They were trying to go 4 wide a moment ago at 190 plus miles per hour. There's the 33, the top of your screen there. That is Tony Stewart trying to come through the pack. And here is Earnhardt Jr. Kevin Harvick also involved. He's on the move, the winner at Daytona in the 21 car.
You know, 4 laps ago on this restart, they started out just pretty much single file, and I said, well, they're going to get strung out a little bit here, and it only takes a couple of laps before everybody's caught back up, and we have over 20 cars in the lead pack now.
All right, our aerial coverage of this 3,000-acre complex brought to you by Goodyear, helping NASCAR fans get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Great panoramic view from the Goodyear blimp high above Talladega Superspeedway. Watch the drafting of the 42 and the 7. They basically have tied their bumpers together.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you need, is somebody that has a car that can stay right on you like that, not just push you that little bit when you get to the corner, get a big separation. Now we can see the 42 falling back a little bit, and that's going to, even though he's pushed Mike Wallace up there pretty far, Mike doesn't have that help now, so it's going to be more difficult for him to get to where he wants, which is in front of the 2 car.
As you watch that 3-wide draft come sailing by, we'll mention that Jason Leffler has now gone to the garage area, as has the 52 car of Donnie Neuenberger. So 2 more cars headed back to the garage. Leffler involved in that first incident on lap 4, getting a tap from behind and bouncing off the wall, damaging the right side of his Toyota.
We see that outside line getting organized again with Mike Wallace heading that up. Got Juan Pablo Montoya that up there. Now another outside line forming up front.
And they are pushing and shoving and bump drafting, and a bump a moment ago almost got Mike Wallace in the 7 sideways.
You know, these are the things that we talked about, especially Juan Pablo never being here. It has to learn. That is a terrible spot to get hit. You know, you want that bump drafting help, but it's very difficult when you have steering in the car right there. It's just like being in the corner. Really hard hit right there. But Mike Wallace did a great job of saving it, and they moved up a couple of spots.
Yeah, what makes one driver a better drafter than another driver? I mean, some guys seem to really do well at Daytona and Talladega, others struggle.
Well, there's probably a lot of things. Obviously, a really good race car can help a lot of times, but understanding the air and what you can and can't do and what is best at what particular place on the racetrack. But guys that have that feel, Dale Earnhardt, we used to always talk about him being able to see air. Obviously, you can't really do that, but he had a sense, I believe, that no one else had. And he knew that just from the feel of his race car, and he understood exactly what the aerodynamics around these race cars was doing and what the air was doing. So he took advantage of every bit of that, and he taught us all a lot. And that was the best thing about being able to have a good enough car to race with him and around him, was that you learned so much just by watching the things that he did. And that's where most of us got our knowledge from, was racing with and around him, and he was helping us to understand a lot more about drafting techniques.
Dale Earnhardt Sr., an 11-time winner here at Talladega. Meanwhile, back in the garage area, Mike Massaro has caught up with Kyle Busch.
And Doc, after taking a wild ride, Kyle Busch has now emerged from the care center with a clean bill of health, but looks a little bit aggravated, and I can't blame him. What happened?
First off, I'm all right, so that's a good thing. But just out there racing, and you know, I got a good run, good push from Stewart behind me, and got a run on the outside of Casey. And I don't know if Stewart decided at the last minute he was going to follow me, and he was already alongside me or what. But you know, the best driver in NASCAR wrecked me and turned me sideways and right into my teammate. It was just like what happened with Vickers and Johnson and Earnhardt last fall, but luckily Casey didn't get in the mess. At least I don't think he did. I haven't seen a replay yet, but you know, it was a pretty wild ride there, but you know, it's a privilege to race on his racetrack with such drivers at that caliber.
You always know it's a possibility when you come to Talladega, but after taking a ride like this today, how difficult will it be to get behind the wheel again on Sunday?
I'm paid to do it. I got to get back out there and do it again. So you put it behind you and keep going.
Thanks, Kyle. Doc, another disappointing day for Kyle Busch.
Unfortunately, though, he's able to walk away from what was a scary incident there just a few laps ago. And we are being told that NASCAR has warned Juan Pablo Montoya, the 42, about some aggressive driving after that bump drafting incident a moment ago in the back of the 7 car. Here's what's happening at Talladega. At 190 plus miles per hour, they are swapping the lead back and forth. It was a Toyota a moment ago for Rudeman. Now Carl Edwards makes the move back up front. They are pushing and shoving more when we come back in just a moment.
ABC Sunday, the NBA playoffs continue at 12:30. First, the defending champion Miami Heat look to avoid being eliminated at home, trailing 3 games to none against the Bulls. Then at 3:30, Kobe Bryant's Lakers look to even the series against Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns. All on ABC, home of the NBA Finals.
At Talladega, 13 different leaders so far, and time for us to go over to the Chevy cutaway car. Tim Brewer, aerodynamics are going to be critical here at Talladega.
Slick as possible, lowering the drag at Talladega. NASCAR comes back, they put this roof deflector on here. What it does, creates a big hole in the air. Therefore, the cars behind the car accelerates up. Draft's really great. Back here in the rear of the car, this is a conventional rear spoiler the teams use for downforce. NASCAR, on the other hand, they want to slow the cars down. They come in here and put this gurney on here facing forward. Creates a lot of drag, puts a lot of downforce on the car, slows the car down, makes it better for racing for NASCAR. Back up to you guys.
All right, Timmy, thank you. And one driver who doesn't have a good view right now of what's happening is Regan Smith. There, the 4 car for Gent Racing, and the hood has just come completely up right over the windshield.
Yeah, there have been times I wanted to close my eyes and try to go through some of the stuff around here, but this is unfortunate. He had a great run going. He was doing a terrific job up in the draft, but this looks like maybe just the hood pins just pulled straight out.
And that much air can just take the hood and just buckle it, huh? You just take it right off the hinges and slide it back?
Oh, yeah, Doc, I'm telling you, there's so much force when that hood pops up like that. It's a wonder it doesn't knock a driver unconscious when it hits the roof. But really kind of strange how that happened, unless he got in, maybe bumped with somebody in one of those accidents there and knocked the pins loose for that hood to pop up like that. Boy, I'll tell you, that's kind of a scary thing.
All right, we've had 13 different lead changes among 12 different drivers, and Clint Bowyer was being shown as a leader. I say was because there goes the 24 car of Casey Mears, getting another push by Mike Wallace, and Mike gets another assist, getting someone to the front.
Yeah, he's doing a terrific job of that, but you know, it wasn't that long ago that Casey Mears had come into the pits under that caution and was working to fix his car, and he was at the very back of the pack, and here he is probably less than 15 laps later. He's in the lead as Greg Biffle makes his bid for the lead.
All right, Biffle under the assault of Mears, and here to the inside goes Mike Wallace. He gets a little bit of a tap from behind, and Wallace tries to head to the front and get by the Mears car.
That's Carl Edwards pushing Mike Wallace up there. And Mike Wallace does such a good job of getting himself in position at these racetracks. And he has a good race car, and he's put it out front right now. And it's going to be interesting to see if his car is fast enough to stay there for very long. That's what you always wonder. Yeah, you can get pushed there, but how long are you going to be able to stay up front?
Mike Wallace has won here at Talladega in ARCA competition back in 1995. He's won at Daytona in the Trucks ARCA Busch Series. He is very good on these Superspeedways, and now he is the leader at Talladega.
I tell you what, when you got these guys like Mike Wallace, and he knows how to work that draft, and you see these guys getting right up on his back bumper, and
Yeah.
You know, he knows how to work that air.
Yeah, and the thing is Mike has a fast car. It might not be the fastest car here, but when you get out front, to stay there, you're really going to have to do some blocking maneuvers. You're going to have to use not only that air that you've got in front of you, having the clean air there, but you're going to have to use some of that with guys coming up from behind you. He's got Carl Edwards right behind him, but as you saw going down the backstretch just a second ago, he had some guys trying to come from the outside, and he was trying to use that.
Yeah, I don't really call it so much blocking as it is just using that air to your advantage. You got to use the guy behind you. As you can see the draft boost right here, when he gets a car, when Mike Wallace gets a car right up on his bumper, you'll see that draft boost, that horsepower boost go up, and he knows how to use that. And here we got Kevin Harvick taking advantage on the high side. We've seen that high side work. Look at this. We see the one car moving up, J.J. Yaley up on the high side. I'll tell you, that high line looking really good today.
Yeah, especially as long as you got somebody like Juan Pablo stuck right there on your bumper pushing you. And here he's going to the lead.
As Yaley to the left side. By the way, he's a teammate to Mike Wallace. Those cars are both owned by James Finch. Both have Carl Wegner engines on board. And Mike Wallace gets a little help from a nephew, a little help from your friends. Ask 19-year-old Steve Wallace now. There's a look at Steve in the Home Life Communities Dodge, who ran so well here last fall in the ARCA race, led the majority of that race, got a lot of valuable experience and finished second. Now he's being shown up there trying to help Uncle Mike in the draft.
Yeah, you know, Rusty Wallace, he's not up here with us. He's taking a little bit of a break, but you got to think he's at home watching this on TV cheering for Steven. This is looking really good for Steven.
Yeah, but you're sure that Mike's out front here and saying, all right, young man, respect your elders here a little bit. Just help me along. Stay right there. You're in a good spot to push me and keep me in the lead.
Yeah, let's see how that works out. I guarantee if he gets open, he's going to go by Mike.
Now 15 lead changes. The great thing about Talladega, you can have 3 or 4 different leaders a lap, but it only counts when you come across the start-finish line. And now Steve Wallace has been able to push the 7 car. By the way, the Mike Wallace car he's driving back there was the car that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won in Daytona with in 2004. They bought it from them and didn't change a thing. Still has the 2004 Chevy Monte Carlo nose on it.
I don't think I'd have changed it either, the way that thing ran. Of course, obviously the guy behind the wheel had a lot to do with that, but we got a guy right here, Mike Wallace, that knows what to do with that car too.
Yeah, we're seeing how the draft boost works here. You see that 74 plus horsepower when you get that number 2 Clint Boyer right up on the bumper. It really makes a difference. And you can see how they just blow right by the 66.
Yeah, valuable lesson learned there, and that's what you're going to have to do. You find out what you can and can't do, and Steven found out that those guys weren't willing to go with him right at that particular time. But he'll work himself back up there later on and see if it works then.
And that loud thud you heard a moment ago, that was Dad Rusty throwing a hammer against the wall. And I'm told Rusty's trying to work his way. He's got 21 years of honeydew list backed up from all his years of cup racing, and I'm told he's supposed to be in the mountains hanging pictures today with his hammer and sneakers, but I promise you there's a hole in the wall now when he saw Steve move up to the outside. Now what about the 1 car of J.J. Yaley, who moved up there and had a shot to take a lead a moment ago? What's going on with him, Mike?
Well, Doc, he's got a little bit of front end damage, and because of that, you can take a look at this. This is part of his front grille. They needed to cut this off the grille so they could get air to the radiator. That was the only way air was going to flow through there. Problem is the aerodynamics have been affected a little bit. They're trying to massage that and kind of construct a new front grille. They're going to put this on the next time that car comes down pit road, but as good as J.J. Yaley's running right now, he's running with an impaired race car.
Yeah, Mike, that's a great example of what happens. You can get yourself pushed up to the front, but once you get up there in that clean air, then that's when it starts to hurt you. So these guys will look for that next opportunity to work on that car a little bit more.
Yeah, right here we see him. He's got in a line of cars. He's got these cars in front of him to be able to bust through that air. But if he ever gets to the lead, his car, his front end is going to have to bust that air. And with that big hole in the front, it's really going to hurt him. It's going to just slow that car down when he gets in the lead. So he's just taking advantage of this draft right now.
Great NASCAR Busch Series racing here at Talladega Superspeedway. 10th stop of the year on the $50 million NASCAR Busch Series Tour. And it has been an event-filled early 50 laps, including a wild flip on lap 26 by Kyle Busch. Fortunately, he's okay. It is Mears, Gilliland, Krisolov, Steve Wallace, and Mike Wallace in the top 5 here. Back in just a moment. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, we are under yellow once again, this for the 4th time today. And at these speeds, it doesn't take much at all to have a problem. And there's a 25 car of 31-year-old David Gilliland. And here's what happened to him just a moment ago.
Well, it looked like David had thoughts where he had a push from the 33 car of Tony Stewart, and he had thoughts of going around Casey Mears, the leader, on the outside. but Tony was just basically faking him out and went to the inside, and then David tried to cover that spot and just wasn't there for him to get back down.
Yeah, that's a risky move when you pull down in front of somebody that's coming like that. And, you know, it might, especially at this point of the race, might have been better just to stay up a lane than to risk something getting clipped. But this is a fairly aggressive move by Tony. He's kind of pushing him up through there and trying to go for that spot. I think Dave Burns, you've got more on Tony Stewart.
That's right, Andy. Been monitoring his radio, and he said right after that, he said, David can't just come down and try to cover that position every time he doesn't want me to pass him. So you guys have kind of called it right. Tony stuck his nose in there, and David was trying to block. Yeah,
it looks like he learned a hard lesson right there, Dave. It's, you know, that's just kind of this kind of racing. It takes years sometimes to figure out how to do it, and he got a good lesson there.
Yeah, you're a little aggravated as a driver that you thought that you had that push from the car behind you, that you were going to go take the lead, and the next thing you know, he's kind of made a fake to you, and he's trying to cover that inside then, and you try to get back there to block it. And again, with these rules and things, yeah, he would. It's easy to sit here and say now would have been better off to have waited and tried to make that move again later. Lost what spots?
All right, here pit stops become the order of the day under this caution flag as they head down pit road at 55 miles per hour. Mike Massaro.
And Mike Bliss on pit road. Team car on Armando Fitz saying the car is good, but they don't have third gear. That's going to be a problem on this restart. Watch the 22 as we go back to green. Four tires. Jamie.
Well, Mike, Kevin Harvick is in. He said the 14 of Kyle Krisiloff, the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya are pushing him in the wrong direction. He needs to get around them and get up to Tony Stewart to do some drafting. Dave?
Speaking of Tony, Jamie, four-tire change, no chassis adjustment, but they are going to put a patch of bare bond tape on the right front of that car where he rubbed on the 25. Alan.
You see Casey Mears already gone, just right side tires and a top off of fuel. He pitted from the lead. He will hold the lead off the set of stops.
All right, pit stops are completed here at Talladega after the caution involving the 25 car of David Gill. And by the way, who will start on the outside front row alongside Jeff Gordon for Sunday's Nextel Cup event here at Talladega. We'll go green when we come back.
Well, let's look again now at the race highlights. It has been action-packed at Talladega. These are brought to you by Holiday Inn. It started early. And Brad Doherty, Martin Truex had won 3 in a row. He suffered the damage on this incident.
Yeah, he really did. And like Jeff Burton said earlier, it's all been miscalculations. All of the accidents we've seen thus far have been just inches away from not happening.
This one, the most severe. The number 5 car, driven by Kyle Busch, who's done everything but win a NASCAR Busch race this year. And then the flames. And everybody had to hold their breath. But as the fellows upstairs have told you, the safest race cars in the world. He'll get out and walk away from this horrifying appearing accident. But he will not be returning. He's free to leave. Junior's not jumping in that car, folks. And then you talk about got to trust your spotter. Watch this with Regan Smith. The hood comes up. He cannot see the track. He's virtually blinded as they take him on into the pits. They yank that hood off. He's back on the track. Now, Brad, let me ask you now about Tony Stewart, who's involved in another incident, the little faking and diving here with David Gilligan.
Yeah, David Gilligan tried to come back down and cover that spot. Kind of a similar accident he had with Kyle Busch earlier. Tony Stewart's been very aggressive. He's marching to the front. If you see him coming, give him some room.
Let's check in quickly with Dave.
And Brent, I want you to listen to some radio from Tony Stewart. You kind of get the feeling from the cockpit of everything that's happened. They're coming back on pit road, by the way, because they have a bad vibration in that 33 car. So they're going to do some more work on that car. Right front fender damage we talked about when they were tightening the lugs. But listen to this radio. Listen to Tony, what he's saying.
Choppy. I mean, it makes me look like I'm dumping everybody, and I'm not.
And he feels badly about that because earlier when Kyle Busch wrecked so badly, he was involved in that. But so was the 42 car. And that's where Tony wasn't completely culpable. He kept checking. Hey, is Kyle Busch okay? He felt badly, but, you know, nothing really that he wanted to get involved in. Same thing with the 25. Just felt like he was protecting his territory.
All right, thank you. And Dale Jarrett, let me ask you, you've been where Tony Stewart's been many, many times when a car begins to move out and you begin to take the spot away. Did Tony do what ordinarily most veteran drivers would do, or should he have backed off a little bit?
No, I can't say that you can make a case for both guys. Should David said, okay, I made a mistake that time, I'll drop back here and come back. And could Tony have backed out and given David that spot back? Certainly they could have, but that's what makes them both race drivers and very competitive drivers, because they don't want to give up that spot. But yeah, I can't see anything wrong with what happened right there. That's racing, and what people have to understand, we're sitting here watching it on TV, and it's very easy to critique it and criticize someone and say they should have done this or done that. You have to understand, these cars are traveling over 190 miles an hour. You're making a decision in a split second, and these things are just going to happen with this type of racing.
Well, one thing I have to do, I have to agree with Tony Stewart, what he said a while ago on the radio. It does look like he's been dumping these guys. It really does.
Yeah, it does that. And you know, there are days that you just seem like that you're in the middle of everything that's going on, and certainly with what happened earlier in the week with the starting with his radio show, you know, things just kind of build up. But again, these things are just going to happen. I do want to bring up a point, Andy, back to our conversation at the start of this show, that hanging back there is not too bad of an idea. These guys have been running second, been in a bad spot.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up.
All right, let's see who's the next one up front that may get a tap somewhere, somehow. As we go back to green flag racing, 57 laps to go, 60 in the books here at Talladega Superspeedway in the Aaron's 312, and Casey Mears at the front of the field.
You know, we've seen great racing already, and we still have 57 laps of probably the best racing we're going to see all day to go, and it's just incredible. I don't think that right now, you have to say that Casey Mears has an excellent car. He's come from the back a couple of different times to get to the front, as we see another challenge for the lead.
Everything starts out single file, nice and easy. The next thing you know, they don't hardly make a lap, and they start forming 2 and 3 lines.
Well, another one of the Joe Gibbs cars going to the high side. That's Eric Almirola. The young man who sat on the pole at Daytona, first ever driver of Cuban descent to win a pole for a major NASCAR event. Very proud of that, he told me.
He was going for the lead, and another lesson learned. Now he comes across the line at about 7th place. So these are things that are just going to happen. He had such a good run. He thought he had that push that could get him to the front. And now he's going to have to look at battling his way back, and he's not getting any help, as you see him still falling back.
It's like he slotted into a little hole there on the bottom. If that outside line ever gets organized, though, it just comes charging to the front. Here we see one trying to organize with Stephen Wallace, it looks like, heading them up.
All right, by the way, the last set of pit stops, we had a couple of cars that tires roll away, the 7 and the 21. Here's a 21 of Kevin Harvick, and they have a tire roll away during the pit stop. And as there you see one rolling out on the... And he had to go to the end of the longest line as they go back and pick up that tire.
Yeah, that was kind of like a receiver missing a perfect pass there. You know, they got the tire back over there, but it hit the wall and came back.
Yeah, that won't be too big of a penalty for Harvick here when we're talking about Talladega and the draft the way it works. It won't take him long to get back up front.
All right, the 24 is Casey Mears. You see his speed there. And Juan Pablo Montoya behind him, and Steve Wallace on the outside. He's got the high line, and DJ, that has been the preferred line. Wallace in the 66, and behind him the 16 is Greg Biffle.
Yeah, but he's going to have that help. You see, Steve Wallace has a very good car, but Greg Biffle right now is not close enough to push him up there. So we're going to see the shorter way around be the preferred line right now. And so you see these top 3 cars with Casey Mears, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Clint Boyer making their way back, because Greg Biffle wasn't close enough to push Stephen Wallace on up there. As these outside lines get lined up a little bit better and a little bit tighter, then we'll see them go back to the front.
As we check in the leaders' pits with Alan.
Doc, just talking some fuel strategy with Chad Walter, Casey Mears' crew chief. He says they are short of the finish on fuel. As a matter of fact, everybody I've checked with down the turn 1 into pit road will have to stop again for at least 7, maybe 6 laps of fuel to the finish. The question will be tire strategy. Mears took just right sides on that pit stop. But I've already heard one driver, Carl Edwards, talk about the fact that as this race wears on, the handling is becoming more of a factor than they expected, and he might want tires on his final pit stop, where his crew chief was thinking maybe they would just get gas then. Dave?
Alan, 2 cars back in that blue number 2. Clint Boyer took 2 right side tires as well on that last stop, and they removed some more tape from that grill. Clint was running hot earlier. In fact, was running in an 8th place spot, dropped back to 24th to get some clean air, and running out front earlier was able to put clean air in that car to cool it down, but they're still battling those temperatures. Jamie?
Well, Dave, the pit strategy has been rather unique for number 9 Casey Kane. Ray Evernham is his team owner. He's up on the box watching over Mike Shiplett. He's the crew chief, and he's a first-year crew chief. 2 pit stops ago, he told Casey to stay out. He was the only car that stayed out. Ray Evernham got on him and said, we should have come in, you should not have kept him out, now we have to gamble. Long story short, last pit stop, guys, he came in with 3 laps to spare. They just topped it off, and Ray Evernham told me Casey Kane can make it to the end. Mike.
Just saw a lot of emotion out of Bryant Frazier and the Stephen Wallace team as Stephen Wallace took the lead and now leads the field through the tri-oval. Stephen Wallace came into this race extremely confident. Ran in the ARCA race a year ago and finished second. Felt like he could do something just as good, if not better, this afternoon, guys.
All right, Steve Wallace became the 15th different leader. We've now had 21 lead changes, and we still got 52 laps to go here at Talladega.
One problem with being a rookie is it's hard to get respect out there. He got the lead. All he needed was just a few of his buddies just to hang out behind him. What did they do? They split him, one on each side.
Yeah, Greg Biffle and Casey Mears decided they wanted to be back in front. They were not going to let this young man steal their glory. And the racing is just incredible right now. You see, as these guys tighten up and then go back to the front, it's just amazing.
And here we see Danny O'Quinn in the 17 car. Man, what a ride he's giving this thing. This is his first start back for Roush after winning Rookie of the Year last year, making good on it. Man, he's making that outside groove work.
You know, Danny told me in the garage area yesterday, he said, I've only got 3 shots. I got 3 chances this year in the Jack Roush car. I got here, I've got Kentucky and Loudon. I've got to do well enough to attract someone to sponsor me to get me back in here full time after winning Rookie of the Year a year ago. So a lot of pressure on Danny O'Quinn to run well and get a good finish here in that 17 car today. With more on him, let's check in his pits with Dave.
Doc, it wasn't an early entry in this race. In fact, it was a late entry. Roush needed someone to run sponsorship for Dish Network in the race, so they got the 17 car. They got Danny. They had to switch out Matt Kentz's seat, which is a little difficult because Danny's a bigger guy, and they also installed a roof hatch on that car. It's the only one with one in the field. In case Danny gets in trouble and has to escape out the top of his car, he can do it.
All right, Casey Mears trying to hang on up front in the 24 car. The 42 behind him is Juan Pablo Montoya. It has been an event-filled afternoon here at Talladega Superspeedway. We talk about high speeds on the high banks and high risk. This race has had it all, and we still have 50 laps to go. The NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series roars through Atlanta this weekend. 8,000 horsepower, top fuel and funny cars, and 180-mile-per-hour motorcycles. Qualifying comes your way at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and the finals are tomorrow at 7 Eastern Time, all on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. As we head down to Tim Brewer in our Chevy cutaway car. Tim?
Tell you what, Jerry, when the drive's coming down pit road, this piece of tape on this steering wheel is very important to have it positioned right here. Crew chief's going to holler at the driver, steering wheel position. The next thing you're going to know, they're going to come around the front of the car. The tire positioning is very critical. This fender opening is so tight around the circumference of this tire right here. If he hadn't got that tape in the right position, the guy changing the tire cannot get the tire off, can't get the one back on. So it's a very critical area, and it's due to aerodynamics. These guys don't want to give up anything, so they bring the driver in. He's got to have that wheel position just to get the tires on and off the race car. Back up to you guys.
All right, thank you, Tim. For more information, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word Autotech. As you understand what happens here in NASCAR racing by virtue of our Chevy cutaway car. Well, we have 23. We've had 23 lead changes this afternoon at Talladega, and it's exactly what you expect here. Drivers, and Dale Jarrett talked about it at the top of the show to Andy Petrie. If you start toward the back of the pack and you stay out of trouble, then when it's time to go in the final 45 or 50 laps, they begin to move toward the front. And guess what? We got a couple of guys named Harvick and Earnhardt who are doing just that.
Yeah, these guys, I've been watching them. They've been actually in another little small group, about 20 car lengths behind this lead draft, just hanging out. Me and Dale were talking about it. I said, I hate it when you're right. You know, you talk about all these wrecks happening with the first and second place cars and third place cars, and these guys hanging around in the back and avoiding them. But we watched that, and all of a sudden now you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. try to just take his car right up to the front, and he's made a little headway in just a few laps.
Yeah, he has, and basically probably what he was doing, he knows he has a good race car. The restarts have been a little bit wild, and so I think that's exactly what he was looking at. Was while they were 3 and 4 wide, he didn't want to be a part of that for the time being. So he let them get down to really just 2 wide, and then that's when he started making his charge, and he's up into the top 10 now.
Guys, a 7 car of Mike Wallace, who was one of our early leaders, has slowed a little bit, has slowed up compared to the pace he was running earlier. There's the onboard camera for Mike and the Geico Chevrolet. And apparently an engine problem as we watch. Oh, look down to the right side of that hood.
Yeah, I think that's maybe overheating a little bit. He's just getting back to get that car some air. I don't know if he might have had a piece of paper to get on the grill or something like that. I think he's just trying to get back to get that cooled down. That's where we run the overflow out, so we can see it as drivers.
The radiator overflow, when they get to a certain temperature, it builds pressure enough to pop that valve and let that overflow come right out the windshield.
All right, here's Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They have now teamed up together and sailed by Casey Mears. There is Mears in that second draft you guys are talking about.
Funniest thing I ever seen right there.
And Kevin Harvick trying to lead for the first time today, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. says, no, it's my turn as they come through the trial, and it'll be Earnhardt Jr.
New leader.
Well, I tell you, it didn't take him long. He was back there in that second group looking like he wasn't anything, and all of a sudden he punches the button and he takes that thing up to the front.
Now, less than 10 laps ago, he was back in 24th spot.
Hey, guys, look at the crowd on their feet, over 100,000 strong when that 8 car went in the front. And by the way, 3 laps ago, this 8 car was 21st on the grid. Reminiscent of anybody you've seen do that before here at Talladega?
Yeah, I've passed by him before, his dad, to win there late, and as a lot of other people have around here. But I don't think this race is anywhere close to over. Here comes Casey Mears back on the outside with a push.
I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. has proven what he can do with his race car, and he may just be content to hang around back there. He doesn't have to lead every lap. He just needs to lead the last one. And I've seen another Dale do that before, too. His name's Dale Jarrett. You've used that strategy many times.
Yeah, but you're going to have to deal with this 24 and 60 car. They seem to work really well together.
And for more on Earnhardt Jr., let's check in with Dave.
Andy, you were commenting on whether or not Junior might just back off now that he knows what his car can do, although he goes to the outside now of David Reagan. That happened earlier. He was racing in the pack. He said, man, these guys are racing like crazy. Dropped way out of the front pack just to save his race car.
And if you want to watch Dale Earnhardt Jr. sliding back out of that lead draft, you get a great shot courtesy of our friends at Goodyear, helping NASCAR fans get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Beautiful panoramic view from high atop this 3,000-acre facility. Talladega Superspeedway, which was an Army air repair station. During World War II, they repaired B-25 bombers, and then when the war was over, the land was converted, and they began to build a racetrack here in 1968.
We're going to see this 8 car come back to the front because Kevin Harvick slowed just a little bit to get behind Junior. He could have probably gone around him and left him hanging out, but that shows what kind of respect Junior has out there. And Harvick got in there. He's got the 42 right behind him. This outside line's going to come again. Now we see Tony trying to get up and want to be a part of that, but he's a little bit late in that move.
Yeah, it's like the Pied Piper. He just gets up there. Everybody wants to line up behind a fast race car, and he just proved everybody he had a real fast race car. So they're going to let him pull him up there.
You know, we used to say the same thing about his dad, wanting to know why everybody wanted to follow him. Well, he knew what to do. He was going to get to the front, so why not get in behind him and get yourself up there?
And give a call to Ward Burton, who was running second on lap number 9, when he was involved in a caution here. His car got bent up, spun sideways, and now he has battled his way back to 7th position at the back of that single file draft. With more on him, let's check in his pits with Mike.
Well, Doc, they paid a lot of attention to that race car after the incident early in the race. They brought him down pit road on 3 consecutive laps. During the process, they changed a total of 8 tires. That's because after changing the first 4, they discovered a vibration and corrected it, not altogether with the second set, but it has been at minimum aggravation at best. And Ward really happy with the race car. Hasn't said all that much, but you know, he feels like this is a good enough race car to win. It's the car he had in Daytona earlier this year, which was also caught up in an altercation, pretty much completely rebuilt from the A post forward, the C post backwards, but
all right, thank you very much. Great effort by the 27 crew. And how about the move by, or the effort today by the 14 of Kyle Krisiloff? And well, that crew has really worked hard, and the young man's driving probably the best race I have seen him drive all year long.
Yeah, he's been in contention all day long. We hadn't talked about him a whole lot, but he's been up there going back and forth from up front, kind of coming to the back. Now he's got a real strong horse behind him, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. pushing him by these guys.
And they're 4 wide right there as they go into turn 3.
Wow.
All right, Dale Earnhardt Jr., a 6-time winner at Talladega. Great memories for him, but even better memories of the man who would have been 56 years old tomorrow. Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s birthday, April 29th. You can't come to Talladega without remembering one of the greatest performances in NASCAR history back in October of 2000. Dale Earnhardt Sr. from 18th position in 3 laps to go to take the win here. One of the most phenomenal efforts I have ever seen, and we were here to make that call, myself, the late Benny Parsons, and Ned Jarrett. What a memorable day. There's a look at the numbers. Rookie of the Year back in '79, a 7-time Nextel Cup champion, tying the King, Richard Petty. His 76th and final win came here on that day in 2000. And, of course, who will forever forget when he finally won the Daytona 500 in 1998. And there's Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he is trying to himself set sail back toward the front, but he has got a ways to go, because Carl Edwards now has gone back around Juan Pablo Montoya, as we now have had our 26th different lead change. We are 4 away from tying the record, and 16 different cars have led.
It looks like nobody's been able to hold the lead. These guys can get up there. We see Kevin Harvick getting a big push from Eric Almirola in the 20. They'll get a big lead, get out there, but they just don't seem to be able to hold the lead for any length of time.
Yeah, Andy, that's just what this aero package is about. It makes such a big hole that you get that run, and you see these guys way out front right now. But here, before they get back into turn 1, they're going to have company again. And it's just amazing. They get tucked up and get such a big run. 2 cars get away from them. But you're going to find out here in just a second that they're not going to be able to hold the lead either as another group of cars comes up.
Alan, you've got more on Carl Edwards?
Yeah, a couple quick things. First of all, he got shuffled out of line by his Roush teammate David Reagan a little while ago. He and Casey Mears in the 24 have worked really well together, but when Carl gets trapped in heavy traffic just like this, something begins to happen with his car, and you'll see him occasionally dart out of line. Listen.
24, I'm cool following him. I just got to keep the nose cool. I'm going to follow him for a lap or 2 more, though. No problem.
Overheating has been a problem for several cars on pit road today, so if you see that 60 pop out of line every now and then, he's just trying to keep the temperature under control. Just something else to think about when he's in all this heavy traffic.
Yeah, Alan, one of the problems with this real tight drafting is that you don't get any air in the front. When you got your front end and that grill right up on that bumper, there's hardly any air going in the front grill opening. So these guys can do that for a while. They can stay tucked in real tight, but then they'll have to breathe it, get it out there and get it some fresh air, cool the radiator back down, and it go back at it.
Yeah, we've heard Andy talk about the aerodynamics of these cars. We heard Tim Brewer talking about how important that is, the front of these cars. And so we're going to run as much tape as we possibly can on the front to make them go faster if we can get out front. The thing is, when you stay packed up like this, you're not getting any air to that. And so that makes it very difficult. Sometimes you just have to get out and breathe it a little bit.
That was a great shot from the bumper cam to show you that grill opening and how these guys tape it up. Try to restrict that flow a little bit, just to get a little extra speed.
And you heard that radio communication. For more information, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word communications. Find folks at Nextel. Be able to hear that driver crew chief commentary and driver spotter commentary. A typical Talladega afternoon, lots of different lead changes, lots of different leaders, and no one seems to be able to stay there for very long.
No, we saw the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. make his way up to the front just a few laps ago, and now he's back in 19th. I think Junior was just finding out exactly how long it was going to take him to get his car to the front so he can calculate that and be ready at the end of this race. Looks like we've got some hood pin problem maybe for the 20 car.
And there's a hood pin flapping on the front of Eric Almirola's car, who is our leader. We've already seen one hood come flying up on Regan Smith's car, come right across the windshield. And Andy, as a crew chief, you see that, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm not too worried about that one hood pin being out of there. We got a good shot, a great camera shot there of the other 3 hood pins being secured. So I think NASCAR will be okay with having 3 in there. But if they get get another one that pops out of there, then I'd get worried.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of the outside ones. I think that's where you really get worried, because that hood could possibly bend up just a little bit, being one of the outsides. But this being one of the 2 that's towards the middle of the race car, as we see, chances are that everything will be okay there. And I think NASCAR, as you said, will be all right with that happening.
There's a look at the progression for Eric Almirola, the 23-year-old Tampa, Florida native, making his 6th start of the year, all the way up to 3rd position, now getting shuffled back there right in front of Steve Wallace in the Home Life Communities effort. We have now equaled the all-time NASCAR Busch Series record for lead changes at Talladega. 30 lead changes. 16 different cars have led as Kevin Harvick, now reigning NASCAR Busch champion, goes to the point, and here comes Montoya.
He has a really fast race car. Seems his car really runs good off the corner. He gets a good run there, and he'd gotten a push from Greg Biffle to send him up there. Now he's going to need Biffle to get back to his bumper, or he's going to be hung out on the outside once again.
Yeah, the 42 car has been consistently at the front all day.
Right.
And trouble on a racetrack. A couple of cars involved. Biffle in the 16 car down across the grass. There's Greg Biffle sliding the former champion. John Wood in the 47 car.
Okay. Somebody got us in the right rear, guys. Turned his head on in the wall.
So caution for the 5th time a day, and John Wood was having a very good run, as was Greg Biffle, but John Wood just can't buy a break.
He sure can't. A very talented young man and driver, but that last 3 weeks just hasn't had any luck whatsoever. We have a look here at the replay. See Biffle right in the middle of the racetrack there. We've got Carl Edwards coming up to him.
Oh, we see a big hard bump draft right there, and that was just, there was just too much closure rate. They were coming too fast into each other.
Yeah, and he was pushing him to the 42, and then the 16 car, Greg Biffle, couldn't go any further, and he got one more big shot, and that turned him to the right into the wall.
Biffle at 190 plus miles an hour with that Ford Fusion, comes across and just catches the right rear fender of John Wood. As we ride on board now with the 90 car of Stephen Light and see his point of view.
Go low here, bud. Go low. Good job, man. Good job. All right, talk to me when you get a chance. Just a little.
Oh, John Wood just can't catch it. John Wood was one of those cars laying back with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Bobby Labonte and those guys. He'd been back in that other pack, and it looked like he had just kind of started making his move to the front, and then gets caught up in somebody else's wreck.
Well, there's an example that my deal doesn't work all the time either. So you just never know when it's gonna happen to you, and it is unfortunate for John Wood. That team is working extremely hard. I think the world of the Wood family, and John does have a lot of talent, but he just can't seem to be in the right place at the right time here recently.
All right, here's Shane Huffman, who is our Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. Here he will get his lap back. He is the first car 1 lap down here as we work the 5th caution flag of the afternoon, the U.S. Navy Chevrolet, and he will get back his lap that he was behind the leaders.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge break for Shane Huffman because he's got a fast race car, and now he's going to be able to get up here and race him.
Pit road is very busy right now, Mike Massaro.
Mike Bliss comes in running 2nd. What a run for him. He started 31st. Problem, though, they still do not have 3rd gear. This was a blessing to have the caution come out here under yellow so they can pit. They can get off pit road a little quicker. Jamie.
Kevin Harvick came in, 1 can of fuel, no tires, guys. He says his foot hurts from pushing the throttle for so long. Dave.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road for 4 tires, but he may have a hole in the radiator because of debris. Don't see any water underneath, but water pressure going down. Alan.
Fuel only for Casey Mears. Interesting because his left side tires were put on the car at lap 27, and he's going to go to the finish at 117 on those same tires.
Wow, take a look at the race off pit road. Marcus Ambrose, the Wood Brothers car, gaining 10 spots up to 7th position. Mears up 4. You heard Alan Bestwick say he took fuel only. Wow, how about those Goodyear tires on the 24 car? And Montoya up a couple of spots, but it was Harvick the first off of pit road. Under caution for the 5th time this incident over in the backstretch. This ESPN telecast of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC is available in high definition on ABC HD, presented by Vizio. Under caution at Talladega, let's check in and speak with our in-race reporter, David Ruderman.
Hey, David, Dale Jerry, got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, David, we've got about 24 laps to go here. You've done a great job of keeping your car intact all day here. How do you like your chances, and do you have any plans as far as moving forward here in these last 24 laps?
Well, you know, we've gotten that little tussle in the beginning, and Jerry Baxter and the guys that are working on it here in Greenwood just trying to get the nose patched up. It definitely won't go by itself. It needs some help there, and I got the nose pushed in. But, you know, I'm back here behind this 8 car, and, you know, he gets around this place pretty good, so I figure we might try to follow him and see what happens.
That sounds like a good plan. Good luck with that, buddy.
Yep, thanks, boss.
Hey, Jerry Baxter, Andy Petrie up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, you guys scrambling down there trying to make any deals for these last few laps? You've made your last pit stop here, so it's showtime.
I believe we're going to stick with right what David said. We're going to follow that 8 car right through. He knows how to do this, and you know, David's learned a ton today going back and forth like that. And, I think we got that nose fixed up pretty decent. Maybe we can get back up there with him.
Yeah, 10-4, Jerry. The nose looks really good. We got the camera on it. Looks good.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
I spoke with Jerry Baxter yesterday in the garage area, and he's been with Michael Waltrip now 8 years. He said a year ago when Michael drove the car here in the Busch Series, he said Michael had a good car, but he waited a little too late to start making his move, and he got from the back of the pack all the way to 11th, and then suddenly couldn't go anymore because he ran out of laps. He said we've learned a little bit of a lesson, knowing we need a little more time late in the late laps here to be able to make that move.
And I'm sure he's sharing that with David Ruderman with 24 laps to go. Make sure we don't run out of laps and try to get there. And that 8 car is a good one to run with. We've seen how fast his car is.
All right, Alan Bestwick is caught up with Greg Biffle,
who's telling me about the impact he just endured. Greg, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. It was unfortunate. You know, we had a really good car, 3M Fusion car, and Eddie and the guys just built me a great car for here. And it's just tough. You know, it's bump drafting's a big issue, and unfortunately, you have to use a little bit of common sense when you're bump drafting. That if you're going to push the guy in front of you that's against the guy in front of you, you almost have to see through the car and see if he's against that guy, because all day that's what you have to be careful of is pushing the guy. You don't really run a risk of pushing the guy too hard when he's by himself. It doesn't matter. I pushed the 66 out in the lead and he pushed me, but when you got two guys against each other, that's when the accidents always happen. And I just got shot out of there like a bullet, but from behind, it's unfortunate.
Glad you're okay.
All right, green coming your way. Let's go full throttle.
Clear by a half. All good. That bull better not wreck you. Come on, you're good. I'll let you know when we get a gap. We'll start picking through here one by one. Nice and smart. Your track. Still all clear.
And the 8 car off the pace down below the apron. Dale Earnhardt Jr. You heard the pit report a moment ago that he might have a hole in the radiator from debris on the racetrack. Dave.
That is not the issue. The water pressure was okay. Broke 3rd and 4th gear, he believes. You can't win a race at Talladega that way.
Only has second. Only has second gear.
If I can't make it, I will get in somewhere.
So the streak for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, 4 in a row between him and Martin Truex, will end today, as Truex's car has been eliminated, and now Dale Earnhardt Jr. with less than 25 laps to go heads to the garage area. Here's the battle up front. Kevin Harvick trying to hold off the rookie Juan Pablo Montoya, and there's an up-close personal view of the Charger for Montoya.
He picked up one thing about drafting in a hurry, and that's that the closer you can stay to that car in front of you, the faster the two of you are going to go. And they've pulled out to a 5 or 6 car length lead right now.
Yeah, one problem with getting too far out here, though, just being 2 cars running together, it's going to be, you're kind of be a sitting duck for these guys if they get lined up behind you.
It's going to take them a few laps to run these two down because the 42, well, he's got a little bit of distance there now, but he's able to stay. He gets off the corner so well, he's able to stay so close to that car that it really makes it difficult for these guys to run him down, although they will here in just a couple of laps.
About a 10 car length separation between the front two with Harvick and Montoya and the 24 of Mears. And take a look at the draft boost there, Montoya and Harvick with the drafting effect of the 42 car on the 21. And here comes the 24. Let's see what kind of effect it has on Montoya.
We talked about him being a sitting duck, and here you can see an illustration of that. Even though these guys got way out there, it kind of leaves you out there to run in that air just by yourself, basically. And these guys in this line just come shooting by on the outside.
Well, Mears gets some horsepower boost you saw on that draft boost a moment ago by getting the 60 car behind him, able to get the push by.
Yeah, that 24 car has been strong all day. We've said that from the very beginning of this race, and it looks like that you're going to have to beat him, and that may be a tall order, especially if he's going to have Carl Edwards behind him. He seems to be able to really get up there, too, and push these guys to the front.
Yeah, we see that 8 car rolling in the garage. You got to think that's changed some of the strategies of these guys out there on the track, because I know that's who they wanted to run with.
Yeah, they wanted to run with him, and they all thought that's who they were going to probably have to beat here towards the end of this race. So it's changed the thinking of a lot of people here. Everybody now knows, hey, we got a really good chance to win this race. So everybody's jumped up in the seat a little bit taller and wanting to get the job done.
26 cars on the lead draft at Talladega, Alabama. 20 laps to go, and onboard camera on the 90 car of Stephen Like, and he is looking right back at the 41 of Reed Sorensen.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about Reed all day. I think he's been one that's kind of just taking his time and then got himself into position now to have a good run here at the end.
Yeah, he's been one of those guys that was hanging at the back earlier with Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt Jr. I saw him back there hanging out, and now we're inside of 20 laps to go, and it's time to push the button, and it looks like Reed's done that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in the garage, and Alan Bestwick is with him.
Talking over his day so far, and we'll step in here and get a word with him. Junior, it looked like it was fun. What happened?
The transmission broke going from second to third on a restart. Just I didn't do anything normal, or abnormal, just normal ass restart. And our transmission kind of frustrating. These guys work real hard, and you know, it's frustrating to have parts failures. You know what I mean? Because as technical as this sport is, and shouldn't have them, but sometimes you do. Just feel bad for these guys. They work really hard to only run a couple times a year, and we like to run good for them, and they put a lot of work in to come out here and finish bad.
You went from the back to the front to the back. What's it been like out there today?
It's been all right. You know, I was in the back when I didn't want to be up front, and when I wanted to go up there, I could drive right up there, and we had a great car. Just waiting on a couple guys to get out of there and waiting on it to thin out a little bit, you know, so it wasn't so many people up there running 3 wide and stuff, so we could get up there and put something on them at the end, but it just didn't happen.
Thanks, Jay.
Great racing up front as laps are clicking away. There's Steve Wallace. He's in the mix. Juan Pablo Montoya, a couple of Dodges hooking up right behind the 60 car of Carl Edwards. As they go 3 wide and laps are counting down at Talladega. Juan Pablo Montoya wants to win on an oval. He finally led on an oval 1 week ago, but his first win of the year came at Mexico City on a road course.
We got this one out of the way now, and you know, the next one we need to win in an oval. I want to win in an oval. You know, that's where we need to be good.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day.
Here, come on to...
Back at Talladega Superspeedway, caution once again. Eric Almirola, the Tampa, Florida native, has had contact with his Joe Gibbs Chevrolet. And yes, the yellow flag waves for the 6th time today, with just 15 laps to go here at Talladega. Right side of your screen, watch the 20 car, and right behind him is Ward Burton as his car goes around and goes up across the racetrack. Great job by Bobby Labonte in the 77 to miss him, but he does have contact with the concrete.
Yeah, you could see as they were coming through the corner there that things were kind of stacking up. Everybody looked like they were kind of settling in for a few laps, single file down on the bottom, but they got to jamming up. And before it was over, Ward Burton was getting hit from behind, and then he got into the 20 car.
Clear high, clear high.
And that's another one of those cases to where it's really, don't know that you can say it's anybody's fault. It's just everybody's running into each other. Mike Bliss in the 22 is behind Ward Burton, and they're all just hitting each other in the corner. And I've said it many times before, if we're going to run into each other in the corners, things are probably going to happen.
On board here is the David Rudeman onboard camera for the Aaron's Dream machine.
Stay low, stay low. All right, good job.
Well, how valuable are spotters here to help you when all that smoke is billowing in front of your windshield to be able to trust what you're hearing. All right, pit road is open. There are 15 laps to go in the field behind the pace car now as work continuing on the 20 car as the crew down there trying to be able to get that car repaired. Dave Rogers and company. And will anyone make an entry on the pit road?
I don't think you'll see anybody come in unless it's towards the back of the pack, because these guys got plenty of fuel to make it to the end. Handling and tires not an issue, so we'll see. Some of these guys may come in at the back, and we see some of them ducking down back there, and it wouldn't hurt. I mean, you don't lose anything by coming in if you're at the back part of the field like these guys.
Here's Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the McDonald's car, 35 to 17. Danny O'Quinn. There's Montoya, who has led 5 laps today on an oval as they come down at 55 miles per hour. And Dave, he is headed to you.
And Juan Pablo didn't necessarily want to give up all the track position, but he said, guys, I stood on the brakes as hard as I could. I flat spotted all 4 tires. So they're going to make just a slight chassis adjustment. The car was getting a little bit tough to turn in traffic for Juan Pablo, and they'll change those 4 tires. Good to the end from here, and a very good race car still. Bumper damage on the front, but Juan Pablo's car very good all the way around in terms of its body, and that could help him win here at Talladega.
All right, thank you very much. We have 25 cars on the lead lap, 25 contenders to win this thing with 14 laps to go. Once again, the yellow coming out moments ago for contact, and the 20 car of Almirola spins up across the track and contacts the concrete. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, take a look at the all-time win leaders in NASCAR Busch Series history. 26 years of racing, Mark Martin, who is not in this race today, 47 all-time wins. The Iron Man, Jack Ingram, just inducted into the Hall of Fame here this weekend, International Motorsports Hall of Fame, second on that list at 31. And now Kevin Harvick, who has a chance to keep adding on that. He is still active in this race at 27 wins, including the season-opening race in Daytona. And there's a look at Kevin Harvick in second position. He came all the way from 31st starting spot to win at Daytona. He is the reigning NASCAR Busch Series champion with 9 wins a year ago. And the 99 car, as you heard Jerry Baxter telling Andy Petrie, they got a very good ride. Could be a factor here in the late laps, as does the 90 car. Give a call to Steve Light and the Robert Yates machine.
We see a lot of cars between Tony Stewart and these guys to the front, but I don't think it'll be much trouble for them to get up through there. We got 13 laps to go, and it's liable to be a pretty exciting finish, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we've got some young guys that have done a terrific job. We got David Reagan up in 3rd. Kyle Krisaloff has been up in at least the top 15 all day, and he sits in 5th right now. And as Jerry was pointing out, Stephen Light, young man, I think he's 20 years old, in that City Financial Ford out of Robert Yates' stables, has done just a terrific job here today. He got a lap down earlier in the race, got that back, and finds himself up in the top 20 right now.
There's a look at Stephen out of Asheville, North Carolina. And he finished 8th at Nashville this year, his top 10 finish. And there you see the progression. But you can never count the Robert Yates cars out at Talladega, as DJ, you can attest to.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of horsepower under that hood. Doug Yates does a fantastic job, obviously. I was fortunate to utilize that horsepower for a lot of years. And I think Stephen, he seems to be a little bit better here, being able to come maybe from the back, going towards the front. And he's only got 13 laps to go, so we'll see what happens.
Some of the NASCAR Busch Series friends, part of a crowd of just over 100,000 here at Talladega Superspeedway. 13 laps to go. Let's listen in to the drivers and spotters as we go full throttle.
ready. Be ready. Get ready. Be ready. Stay ready. Ready. Green flag. Green flag. Green flag. Clear all around. They're all good. All clear. Radiator fan off. Half back. 22 slow on the bottom. You see him on the line. Still all clear. You have the 77 with you. Single file back to about 50. Yeah, carry on with that. I want to get by these other clear by here. Looking outside there. Clear to the bottom. Clear to 28. 77. Clear. About 8. Clear by half. You guys are all single file. That's the end of the bottom. You see him. Clear. There's a little out. Clear. Clear. Side at your door. The red 22 up here does not have clear, so he's slow on the start. He'll probably still be bogged down when you get there. You're all clear. 2 back to anything. 4 back. 1 inside there. Clear by 2 behind you. 9's rolling on the top side out here.
All right, 6 cars on the bottom of the racetrack in the bottom line. And I guess DJ and Andy, what you got to watch is that second line beginning to form up high, and these guys try to get together and draft toward the front.
Yeah, we've seen that all day long at the outside lane. After they run a lap or two, starts to get some momentum. And these guys running the bottom, they're doing a real good job with it right now, but they got to keep one eye peeled on that top side.
Yeah, you know, they've run 106 laps now, and they're pretty much out of patience. It's time to go. They realize this is their chance to win, and literally any of these guys in the top 20 could win this race. So they're not giving much ground right now. They're going to find where they can go the fastest. They'll get them to the front.
Excuse me, they had patience when the race started? Is that what you're saying?
Like, yeah, they were supposed to,
okay.
And most of them were trying to show that. But we see them fanning out here now. This is going to be a very exciting finish, and Casey Mears has a fast car, but he's going to have a hard time holding these guys back.
Yeah, we saw the 9 car almost like he got shot out of line or pushed out of line right there on the backstretch.
All right, this beautiful panoramic view of this race at Talladega, courtesy of the fine folks at Goodyear, helping NASCAR fans get to the finish line for the past 25 years. And what a finish we should have here at Talladega. Casey Mears trying to hold on right in front of Kevin Harvick. It's a pair of Chevrolets in a great run by David Reagan, rookie driver, who set on the pole at Texas, got his first top 5, and now is hoping to be able to get a shot at getting his first Busch Series win. He's in the 6 car. Last week's winner, the 2, that is Clint Boyer.
It's been all fun and games up to this point, but these guys here now got 10 laps to go, and I'll tell you, they're not going to be playing games now. They're going to be playing for keeps.
Okay, here comes the high line, the 60. Top of your screen, that's Carl Edwards, Casey Kane behind him, the Dodge of Sorensen, then Montoya, as this line now begins to pedal their way up toward Casey Mears.
Yeah, Casey Mears is going to have to play some defense now if he's going to keep this lead. He'll have to watch that mirror, and that car's moving around behind him. He's going to have to keep those guys lined up right behind him.
Yeah, we see somebody's pulled out here, and that's Clint Boyer in the 2. He saw this draft coming. I'm sure his spotter told him, hey, these guys, this outside line's coming. This is your chance to get up there and be that first guy on the outside to try to take the lead.
Courageous move by Clint Boyer. He got up in front of the 60 car of Edwards and Casey Kane and Montoya, and now those guys are beginning to reel them in. A moment ago, we saw the differential in speed, and the high line was about 1.5 miles an hour or 2 miles an hour faster than the inside line.
Yeah, we've been seeing that on the backstretch, especially when these guys on the outside lane kind of run. It's almost like they're running in a little bit of a vacuum. When the inside line pulls down and they open up that outside line, it's almost like they're running in a little bit of a vacuum.
Yeah, the problem that they're going to have on the outside line, and these guys that are back 3 or 4 cars deep are going to not be quite as patient. They're going to want to try to either go to the middle or even make a 3rd lane on the outside of there. And so then that's going to slow them down because they don't have that push. You can see right now the 2 car has nobody helping him whatsoever. His best bet probably would be to dive down in there, but he's lost that now as Ward Burton takes that spot away from him.
And they can't seem to get organized in that outside lane like they were earlier.
Whoa, contact. Stephen Wallace gets sideways. He is tapped from behind. And this is the one no one wanted, the big one late, and Stephen Light has nowhere to go head on into the 41 car. There's the 90 car of Stephen Light, who's having such a great run as the 41 car of Reed Sorensen got spun around. And looks like the 66 car of Stephen Wallace might have gotten a little tap. His car abruptly turned sideways, and boy, that Stephen Wallace cannot catch a break either. They have had miserable luck the last 3 or 4 events. And here's our in-race reporter in the Aaron's Dream Machine, and there's the Dodge of Stephen Wallace. Says heavy damage on the front and rear. Reed Sorensen's Dodge for Chip Ganassi Racing.
A lot of good race cars torn up in this wreck.
From the Goodyear blimp, watch the 66 car.
There again, he's up against the car right in front of him, who was Casey Kane, but he's still getting that push from behind because Reed Sorensen can't see that he's totally against that car, and that's where, you know, it just gets down to the end of this race, and we start, I say we, and we do it in the Cup race too, you start running into each other and trying to help them get to the front as fast as you can.
Yeah, we heard Greg Biffle talking about it, that if you can't see through these race cars, so you can't tell what the guy in front of you is dealing with, and they just start stacking up. Can't really put the blame on one person here. It's just all kind of shared back through there.
Yeah, I'm sure Steven, he's probably got a foot on the brake because he's right against the 9 car, but he's getting hit hard from behind, and then it just shoots him right out of the pack. We've been fortunate all day that we haven't really had very many cars involved in these accidents at a time, but we got down to the end when it was time to try to win, and people like Stephen Light, unfortunately, that weren't even a part of the beginning of this get involved.
Well, at least a half a dozen cars damaged in this big one here with less than 10 laps to go. As you're right on board with Stephen Light in his City Financial Ford, let's watch what he saw just a moment ago off of turn 2.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
The big one, but you seldom do. 8 laps to go. In the 66 car, Stephen Wallace, and a beautiful view of the entire incident. As you look down, he'll get out of control, and you can watch as the demolition derby unfolds. But note the 10 cars that escaped the damage. Watch as the cars get out of the way. Juan Pablo slips through. And we have got 10 cars that are going to be in a dogfight coming down to the end. And our top 5, Casey Mears. Can he hang on now? The race has been red flagged, and there you see they bring him to the stop, turn him loose, green, white, and then of course we'll have the checker. So they never end a NASCAR race under caution. Now there's Mears, and note Kevin Harvick. He has been a constant winner through the years in the Busch Series. Right there, David Reagan, Kyle Krisloff, Ward Burton, Butt, Boyer, Stewart, Labonte, Edwards, Montoya, all ready to stalk if they can get organized. And Dave, you've got a story on Juan Pablo.
Yeah, and Brent, after that last caution when he had to pit for flat spotting his tires, he restarted in the 24th position, has worked his way all up to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10th position. Right in front of him, Carl Edwards, who he's been racing with throughout the day. He wanted Carl and his spotter to know how they might race to the front near the end. Here's what he said.
You should tell the 60, stay to 60. I know he left me draw about 4 times today, but I'm still going to push the hell out of him.
Okay, Carl left me dry earlier, but I'm still really going to push. Now, one thing that Carl's people radioed back and gave back to Montoya's folks was, my bumper's a little bit askew. You need to hit me square if you're going to push me, or you'll spin me out. So a lot of communication going on with a couple of guys trying to get back to the front. Jamie?
Well, one of the Busch Series regulars talking here, his owner here, Robert Yates, watching what happens. Stephen, another tough break for you guys. I talked to you before this race. You said it's definitely not performance. It's just bad luck. What happened there?
It looked like somebody got into somebody, and when I looked up, I saw the 59 car spinning around, and I slowed up and tried to go left or right of them, and I couldn't. I had cars on both sides of me and ended up having to run into them. And I thought it was okay, but then something locked up on the left front, and I hit somebody else because I couldn't see. There was oil over my shield, and then I hit the inside wall. And just bad luck for this team. This City Financial team has worked their butts off all the end of last year, off season this year, and we've had some good runs going like today. Been in the front, or been in the top 10, and just can't put it all together. Something like that happens every time.
We can see how hard the drivers are working, guys. Beads of sweat rolling down. Mike.
It was a promising day for Steve Wallace, but just not meant to be. Steve, what'd you see?
I don't know. I was just driving right along. I was running about 7th. We were 3 wide. I was in the middle and just got hit from behind, got turned around, and then just all hell broke loose. The whole field wrecked behind me. I don't know what happened. Just driving right along there.
We could start to see the intensity level picking up here a little bit. Could you sense that this might happen?
Oh, yeah. For 100%. The Home Life Community Dodgers were really good today. It's just a big shame it happened. But whenever you go to a 10-lap shootout here at these restrictor plate racetracks, it's just crazy. I felt like our Home Life Community Dodgers was fast. Like we led laps, ran top 5 all day long, and just you know, got back there and just what can you do? You know, it's getting frustrating, but we had a really good car today, and we'll come back next week and try and get them then.
And Brent, you could see the frustration on Stephen Wallace just before the interview. He kicked his race car. Brent?
Yeah, exactly. As we prepare now for a dramatic finish, red flag is out. The final cool down being offered to the drivers. Many of them rejecting it. Tony Stewart, give me a sip, baby. And he'll set sail. They'll all be trying to catch Casey Mears. The drama is about to unfold at Talladega. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Well, the 19-year-old Stephen Wallace has had his troubles the last 3 weeks, and most of which has not been his own doing. This was at Nashville, Tennessee, involving an early incident. David Reagan not happy with him, but Steve able to go on and motor and get his first top 15 of the year. And then at Texas Motor Speedway, Brent Sherman and Stephen Wallace come together, and Wallace did apologize and say it was his fault, but Brent Sherman is none the happier for that incident there. And then at Phoenix International Raceway, last week on a Friday night, contact with Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya able to steer around the home life community's Dodge, but Stephen had a tough one. He's having a good run today, and not of his own doing. He gets tapped from behind, pushed, and suddenly the big one breaks loose on the backstretch. Heavy, heavy damage to the Rusty Wallace Incorporated Dodge as they will head back down and try to get that car repaired for the final few laps. Well, we are under a red flag condition here at Talladega. We have had 20 different leaders, 34 lead changes, along with Andy Petrie and Dale Jarrett. I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. And DJ, what do the drivers think about this procedure where you red flag a race with just 6 laps to go? You sort of just sit there and wait.
Yeah, I think the best thing NASCAR's done over the last few years is bring the guys some water, because you've obviously been in there for a couple of hours. You're hot and sweaty, and then all of a sudden you stop and there's no air. It's not like you can run a fan or anything because you've got the car cut off. But I think for the most part, as far as the racing goes, if we polled back through the top 20, most of them would have a different answer. The guys up front would say, hey, why didn't we keep running around? We're going to have a green-white checkered anyway, because they just want to see a couple of laps. They know that doesn't give these guys back in 10th or 12th a real chance to get up to the front. But if you talk to those guys back towards the back, they say, well, this is great. Now I'm going to have a few more laps to get the job done. So everybody's going to have a little different answer, and each week that would be different depending on where you're running at.
Well, the fans have to love it, and I love it. I mean, be able to see these last 6 laps under green, and all the lead swapping and racing and drafting at Talladega. As a crew chief, Andy, over the years, what were your concerns when a race was red flagged?
Well, I always wonder whether it's going to start back, and the battery might be dead, and then you kind of worry about it maybe getting hot. When you let these cars sit and heat soak without the fan and the water pump and all that turn, you kind of wonder whether it's going to get hot, not want to crank it back up. But once it gets going, I think you feel okay about it. The one thing that I do like about NASCAR red flag in the race is that here at these tracks, these restrictor plate tracks, it takes so long to get wound up and for these cars to get to full speed that they really don't even get to race it until after they've run a lap and a half. So saving those laps on the board is going to give these fans a whole lot better finish.
Once again, we are under a red flag condition here. The 8th caution flag of the day coming out with a major incident on the backstretch involving 8 cars. One of those involved was Marcus Ambrose. He's standing by with Mike Massaro.
And Doc, somehow Marcus Ambrose is still smiling. Why?
Well, I guess I got my first Alabama Slammer. Actually had 2. I spun out at the start of the race as well. Just proud to be here. Kingsford Charcoal supporting me. It wasn't a great day, but we did well. We were running right at the front there towards the end and having a great time. Here I am spinning out in front of the whole pack at Talladega and live to tell the tale. So I'm just here for the experience. It's just a wild ride and just loving every minute of it, even on the bad day. So we're here. We're enjoying ourselves, but hopefully next week will be better.
Well, Doc, you got to love his attitude, that's for sure.
He is a very popular driver from Tasmania, which is an island just south of Australia. He told me in the garage area he gets hundreds of emails a day from down under. He said they all begin with the word mate and end with the word mate. He said, I love it, though. I love hearing from the home folks. Marcus Ambrose, leader of the Robustus Rookie of the Year standings, but not having a good afternoon here as he was involved along with 7 other cars in the 8th caution flag of the day here at Talladega. We hope to go back to green when we come back in just a moment. Well, Well, next week we head to the action track for some night racing in Richmond, Virginia. Watch as drivers kind of keep a level head at this big little short track. The NASCAR Busch Series at Richmond on ESPN2 Friday, May 4th, 7:30 Eastern Time. Also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. Call your cable operator or satellite provider today. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, we are under a red flag condition. There is Tony Stewart being shown in the 7th position right now in the Chevy, the Old Spice Chevrolet. One of the big topics of discussion all week long, Dale Jarrett, was Tony Stewart's commentary on his radio show early in the week where he questioned the authenticity of some of the debris caution flags. When you saw what Tony said and read the release, what were your thoughts as a driver?
I think what I saw was a young man that is very good for our sport, that's a little frustrated, that thought that maybe a couple had worked against him. And I'll just, being an older guy, tell Tony, and I'm sure that he heard it in his meeting yesterday with NASCAR, that you stay around this sport long enough, things kind of even out for you. You're going to have some things work against you with some of these cautions. Some of them are going to work for you. But the one thing that we can't do in this, I'm sure that Tony knows this by now, there was probably a little more diplomatic way for him to call up NASCAR on Monday or Tuesday and discuss that with them. And then he could have said what he wanted to on his radio show about that maybe we need to take a look at this. But we can't take away the individuality from this sport of these different drivers and what they have to say. We have to continue to have that. So I don't fault him what he did. I think he probably learned a lesson, and next time, because he's going to continue to speak, and we like that, but he's probably going to go about it a little different way.
He said he didn't want to say the wrong thing after the race at Phoenix, so that's why he left the racetrack and did not go and be available to the media. That's why he was fined and put on probation, because he said, I didn't want to blow up. I wanted to have time, but I guess he simmered for a couple of days, and it still came out on Tuesday. Now, he says that he met with NASCAR early in the weekend here, and I'm quoting from Tony's release. He said, after my meeting with NASCAR, it was a little tender for me to sit down, and he laughed. He said, I obviously got a bit of a behind chewing in the truck because he has been very good for this sport. And obviously a lot of frustration driving his tail off. But as a veteran driver like Tony, how frustrating is it to have those debris yellows come out late in the race when you think you might have a shot? Yeah, and you don't know exactly how things might have played out. But I think we've all been in that position, and what you want to do is just understand that hopefully the next time that happened, that it's going to benefit me. But that's hard to swallow right at the moment. But the other thing, and I spoke with Tony this morning, we had a good talk, and I wasn't talking to him about that necessarily, wasn't counseling him by any means, because he knows exactly how to handle himself. But we just talked that you have to understand that these things are going to happen. It is frustrating, but we all do have obligations that when this race is over and we finished in the top 3, we have to go to the media center. And that's difficult. And I think next time he'll probably go there and just say enough to get by, but do his obligation with that, and then think of things and address them in a little bit better way the next time that happens. But this is just a great competitor right here that doesn't like having, he's out here, he said it today, he's out here for the trophies. It's not about the money. He's out here to win trophies. He has been a great ambassador for the sport as a 2-time NASCAR Nextel Cup champion. Been very successful in Nextel Cup racing, although he has had his troubles here at Talladega. This was a year ago when he got a tap from behind and his car went up on its roof and came down on the door, only to come back around. Troubles at Talladega. And of course, Tony Stewart has raced 4 times prior to today at the world's fastest stock car facility. And folks, he has yet to finish his first race. 4 DNFs, hoping to get a finish and maybe a win here as we get ready to go green when we come back.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Brought to you by Aaron's. With over 1,400 stores nationwide, everyone's a lucky dog at Aaron's. And Holiday Inn Racing. Always stay under green.
Back for the final laps here at Talladega Superspeedway, a track that's known for its fabulous finishes, its drama, and the fact that we have the big one. We just came off the big one. 7 or 8 cars involved, 7 cars damaged in that incident. That brought out the 8th caution flag of the afternoon. And we have 4 laps left. We have had 34 lead changes among 20 different drivers. We are 1 lead change away from tying the all-time Busch Series record. And Casey Mears has been the car to beat. There's a look at Casey in the 24 car, and he has led 46 laps today. Mears has been awfully good. Of course, they pay tribute each week to a National Guard unit, and this weekend it is the 155th Armored Brigade out of Mississippi. A lot of them in attendance today to watch that 24 car run, and behind him 21 is Kevin Harvick, and in comes the young driver, second generation driver David Reagan in the 6 car.
I'll tell you, Casey Mears is going to play some major defense here with just a few laps to go. I'm sure these guys are going to be all over him.
Yeah, and as I look at the top 10, name that jumps out there, Bobby Labonte, veteran driver that's just kind of let the race come to him. Now he's got himself literally in a position from 8th. With these rules, you have the opportunity to win from right there. So it'd be interesting to see what moves he makes right here at the end.
You know, Bobby Labonte's always been good here. He's won twice in an IROC car and a Cup car. As we go back to the green flag for the final laps, let's listen in and go full throttle.
Ready. Green flag. Green. Clear all around. Clear by 1. Single file. 6 and a half back. Clear by 1. Single file. Go get some. I'll try to get you some help right here. Single file the whole way.
Big clearing after him.
How many laps left? All clear. Clear by 2. Single file. 1 back to the 2. Half back to the 42. And 1. Back behind him. 3 is kind of bogging down here. 42 half. Still all good. Clear by 4. Single file. Going to get a push.
Famous last words, we're going to get a push, and that's what we've been seeing all afternoon. There is a look back at the 6 car from Kevin Harvick's onboard camera. That's the 3rd place car. Can Harvick and Reagan do something with Casey Mears? Andy Petrie says Mears has got to play some serious defense. Here comes the high line, led by guess who? Tony Stewart in the 33 car. And caution being waved. We have debris on the racetrack in turn 2. And that caution, there is a couple of cars moving very slowly off of turn 2.
Tony Stewart had a run there with Bobby Labonte pushing. We do see the debris here.
It just was up on the racetrack and rolled down as a couple of cars went by. And off the 99 car, you see all the sheet metal damage and the car just trying to make its way back. That's the David Rudiman, Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota. As they are going to black flag the 9 cars that came by that time. Some damage on the back of Casey Kane's car.
All right, pit this lap.
I think that debris was the back bumper off the 9 car. Looks like he's got more debris ready to fly off of it too. And all these wrecked cars going out on the racetrack. NASCAR is usually pretty strict about letting these guys back on the track, or not letting them back on the track when they have flapping debris like that.
And let's show you what happened. That debris you're talking about, it came off the car, was right up in the groove on the racetrack. There you see right in the middle groove, and there's cars running above it and below it, and they're trying to get the caution out before that sheet metal would possibly cut a tire and send guys sailing into the wall.
Yeah, no choice. NASCAR had to throw that yellow. These guys, we had a great finish brewing right there, and we got another one probably coming up, but that debris was definitely warranted a caution.
Okay, here's the procedure. NASCAR attempts to finish this race under green. They will give you 1 green-white checkered flag attempt. Now, if a caution comes out during that green-white checkered, the race can indeed finish under the yellow. But they try not to because of this 100,000 plus fans and the millions watching at home. They want to give them a chance to see what they came here to see, and that's great 3-wide racing on a super speedway like Talladega.
Yeah, but they only get 1 chance to do it. So if it comes out after this one, if another caution comes out, then the race will end.
Great crowd on hand here. Over 100,000 race fans have come to Talladega Superspeedway. We're about 50 miles east of Birmingham, Alabama, 100 miles west of Atlanta, in the central part of the state of Alabama. As we check in our leaders' pits with Alan Bestwick.
Doc, Casey Mears leading this race now, just a couple of laps, 3 laps away from potential victory. And what a revenge victory it would be for this team. The only other track where this particular rules package is used on the circuit is at Daytona. And when they started the season for this team at Daytona, they had 2 crashes in practice, had to bring a 3rd car that they borrowed from their Hendrick Motorsports teammates, Kyle Busch's team, and failed to qualify for that race. Chad Walter, the crew chief for this team, told me they have spent the months since Daytona in February working hard to rebuild their fleet of cars for these restrictor plate tracks. They had none then. They have 3 now. Chad told me on Friday he thought they could win today. They're a couple of laps away from having a shot at that, but boy, they've got some work left to do.
Exactly, Alan. Great story. What a wonderful comeback for that 24 team that worked so hard at Daytona. This was the very first of those 3 cars that they damaged down there. They wanted to get it fixed and bring it back and let it go to victory lane here at Talladega. For more on the 33 car, let's check in with Dave.
And Jerry, we have talked about his off-track issues this week. How about his on-track issues? That car jumped out of gear again on the previous restart, not the one we just had, but the one before that. So that's a concern. He's got a repaired race car that works pretty well. And one more thing for Tony, he cannot race on the outside. Where did he go on that last restart to pass and go for the win? The outside. He's been telling his crew, one thing I can't do is go high. Well, he gave it a try, and with his teammate Bobby Labonte pushing, he may have a shot on that outside line.
Well, you sometimes got to go where they ain't. That's what I've heard before. So he didn't have anywhere else to go but high.
Yeah, and a man with that much talent right there, I think for these 2 laps, he's going to put it wherever he can go. And they were just starting to come into our picture, and we were just getting ready to talk about, but he had Bobby Labonte tucked on his bumper, and they were coming on that high line. It was going to be very interesting. They laid back just a little bit on the start as we were watching them come off of turn 2, and they were probably 4 or 5 car lengths back, but they really got a pull and a push there, and it was going to be interesting. I would look for that to happen again.
Well, if experience means anything, those 2 guys, both former NASCAR Nextel Cup champions. Bobby Labonte, a former NASCAR Busch Series champion. Bobby Labonte has been very successful here at Talladega. I mentioned he won twice in IROC cars, and of course has won in the Nextel Cup competition here in 1998.
I'm sure that Kevin Harvick doesn't want to see anybody go by, but if it were that 33 and 77, that would probably be the only 2 that he would be happy to watch go by.
Those are his race cars, by the way. He owns both those cars, the Kevin Harvick Incorporated cars, as teammates.
And I guarantee you, if they get up there, he'll block them. He doesn't care who. He doesn't care who owns them.
All right, guys, who's your horse here? 3. You know, you're going to have a green, white, and checkered. What do you think? Can Mears hold them off?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 24, mainly because I think that I'm not sure that David Reagan has the experience to get with Harvick, and he's going to have a push to get by the 24 car.
Well, I think I'm going with Kevin Harvick, but I think it's going to be one of these other guys like Stewart or those guys or Labonte. They're going to get up there and give him the push to the win. So I see those guys coming up and pushing Harvick.
Yeah, I think Harvick gets a little help from his friends. And then wasn't that a song one time in the Beatles? I got by with a little help from my friends. Let's see if Kevin Harvick can make that Beatles tune come through here in the final laps at Talladega. Casey Mears trying to get his 2nd ever career NASCAR Busch Series win, but he's got the reigning champion right on his bumper as we go green flag for the final laps at Talladega. It'll be white flag this time by these drivers. Hard with that right foot all the way down on the floor. Here comes the high line. That's exactly where Tony Stewart couldn't go, but that's where he is gone.
Kevin Harvick tried to make that move that Andy was talking about, but I don't think that he got out there in time. And Tony Stewart now is in the lead with Bobby Labonte pushing him.
Wow, what a move up from 5th place coming off turn 2.
Tony Stewart has gone around the outside to take the lead, and the white flag. It'll be Stewart's first lead today.
But he's got a big lead, and that could be a problem by the time he gets to the backstretch.
Yeah, this could hurt him for sure because he's got almost too much of a lead. With 1 lap to go, these guys are going to have some momentum on him.
And watch the outside. There's a 60 car of Carl Edwards, the points leader. Stewart now gets a help from the 77 car of Bobby Labonte. Mears is there, but let's see if the high line works again. But this time it is Harvick and Edwards.
Is Bobby Labonte going to leave his wingman with his teammate Tony Stewart, or is he going to try to go for the win here? We see steam coming out of the car, out of the 77 car, tucked right up behind Tony Stewart.
And Harvick is now getting a little bit of a push from the 42 car. That's how close it is with Montoya right behind Kevin Harvick. Does he have enough time to get there? Tony Stewart with a push from Bobby Labonte. Mears is third. Reagan is fourth. Here comes Labonte on the outside. They come to the tri-oval. Remember, the start-finish line is here.
And he gets it.
And what a run by Bobby Labonte. What an effort by the former Cup Series champion and Busch Series champion.
Well, look, that car's overheating. What a great move. I didn't think that was really possible, that you could just pull out and pass somebody that you were pushing.
Yeah, boys.
He just laid in the weeds all day.
How about that guy?
And here he comes.
Yeah. Well, you got to get, I mean, he has so much experience and he's been through a lot of things here. And that's exactly what this package that these Busch cars run, what it brings to the racing. You just don't see that a lot, Ed, but textbook slingshot pass right there coming to the checkered flag.
That is what they write about at Talladega, the fabulous finishes.
Oh, Bobby. Woo! I can't believe it. And the water's only 140 degrees. Oh, I'm sorry, it's picked.
Steam is coming out from under the hood, but he would not let up, and somehow that car had enough oomph to be able to draft by.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to have to try to see if he's got enough oomph to do him at burnout. Boy, what a finish. Talladega always great for these finishes.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, it looked like he was just going to be content and pushing because he really didn't have any help from behind to be trying to pass Tony Stewart. So we thought.
Watch the move here. They are still 200 yards away. Here comes Labonte on the outside. They are fender to fender, nose to nose, and at the line. Watch Bobby Labonte's car just like jumps ahead by about a half a car length right there to take the win.
You know, Jerry, you asked me earlier about guys that know how to use the draft, what separates people. This is it. Bobby Labonte. Not that Tony doesn't, but Tony's just holding it wide open. But he knows what to do right here. He's pushing him, but he gets up behind him, pulls to the outside. Now he's going to get down close to him, and that's going to drag the 33 car back some. It's going to hold his momentum, but then he separates himself so that the 33 can't get back with him. Textbook.
A veteran move by Bobby Labonte. His crew chief, Wally Rogers, standing by with Jamie.
Wally Rogers there for that restart. What were you thinking, and did you have any idea those two were going to lock up like that to the finish?
I knew the two of them were going to lock up at the finish. I thought when the caution come out, we were kind of in trouble, and everybody was going to figure what we were going to do. But, I mean, I can't say enough about Dollar General and everybody at KHI, our fab shop. We've been struggling a little bit with our Speedway program, but, man, we got two awesome drivers in Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart. That's just so cool.
Congratulations. Wally Rogers, guys, Bobby Labonte's crew chief.
Bobby Labonte's last victory had come at Darlington back in 1998. It was his sixth start of the year, and what a performance from the back of the pack. Let's check in with Dave.
And sneaking in to see Tony Stewart right now, talking to Rick Corelli from KHI and also to Dan Stillman, his crew chief. Well, if you had to finish second, is that an okay way?
That's an awesome way. That's our first 1-2 finish for Kevin Harvick Inc. And man, I'm so proud of Bobby Labonte. I mean, if it weren't for him, we weren't going to get out there anyway. And he pushed me for 2 solid laps there to get us to the lead. And I have to admit, I didn't see it coming. But I mean, he's the one that taught me everything I know about Cup racing. He was my teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, and I'm proud to have him as the teammate here at Kevin Harvick Game. I'm ecstatic. I mean, the Old Spice guys did a great job. I didn't think we had a car that could win the race by any means, but we kept getting up there and getting in the mix. And man, my teammate was, he probably melted that thing down. It was pushing water the last 2 laps, but I'm proud of him. That was an awesome run for us.
Yep, he said the water was pegged. This car almost won as well. A great run today for Tony Stewart. Jerry?
Well, you love to see that when teammates have that much fun, DJ. You had a lot of fun over the years with your teammates, but everyone knows that Bobby Labonte is one of the most popular guys in the garage area.
No doubt. Just a class act. I mean, he does everything right on the racetrack, off the racetrack. True champion for our sport. And he's just going to run this thing till it runs and quits. But that's just great to see. And it shows when you get that kind of admiration from a driver like Tony Stewart, who doesn't like to lose, but didn't mind that happening today.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I bet you I know where you can find Tony Stewart here in about 15 minutes. I bet he'll be in the media center doing an interview.
Well, how about a great run by David Reagan, who's standing by with Jamie?
That's right, his first start here at Talladega, his best ever finish in the Busch Series, the rookie David Reagan. David, You kept it down there on the bottom the entire race. How did you do that and hold off all these veterans?
I don't know. I was just telling my crew chief, Mike Kelly, I said I couldn't beat on them anymore. I'd bust the radiator off them. Man, this discount tire Ford Fusion was so fast today. And, you know, it's just a pleasure to drive for everyone at Roush Fenway Racing. We've had some ups and downs, but a good, strong point today. And, you know, what a fun race. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Great job by David Reagan in the 6 car. Mike.
And a strong top 3 finish for Casey Mears, but he wanted so much more. How would you describe that closing lap?
Not good for us. You know, I mean, we had a really good car all day. National Guard guys did a great job. Everybody at Hendrick Motorsports did a good job. The engine department, fab shop, everybody's did an excellent job. We've had fast cars all year, and I'm real proud of everybody. You know, we had the 151st on this weekend, and wanted to show them proud. Hopefully, they had a good time here with us. And you know, it's just they had such a huge run there at the end at the top. Even to move up to block them, they're going so much faster. And I had no idea they're going that fast all day long. It's been they're up top, and they barely get to you, and they had such a huge run. Heck, they had us cleared by like 20 cars when they went by. So, you know, we wanted to win that one bad, and I think probably leading it wasn't the best place to be right there at the end. You know, they got to lay back and get a big run. So, unfortunate, but it was another good day for us.
Well, guys, certainly not the run and the finish that Casey Mears wanted, but he'll take it a top 3. Alan?
With Bobby Labonte in victory lane, it's been a while. Wow. Bobby, congratulations. Tell us about those last 2 laps.
Oh, I tell you what, I saw Carl coming on the outside, and Ward, I don't know if he went up there or not or didn't want to go. And, man, I just had a run on Tony, and well, you saw it, I just stayed glued to his bumper the whole time. And, you know, Eddie was telling me how far we were ahead of the 24 car. So there at the end, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get side by side before and let him catch up. And I took off the right on the outside of him, and I said, I can't believe this thing's going to go and pass him like that. So, just thanks to Kevin and all the guys at Kevin Harvick Inc. and his Dollar General. Chevrolet did pretty good today.
It's been a while since you've been in victory lane. What are you thinking?
Oh, this is cool. That's good. I got me another flag. The motor blowed up. I didn't blow it up, but it blew up because I done hit Carl Edwards once so hard it run about 280 degrees the last couple laps. So, thanks.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, and me and Tony were just kind of drafting there for a while. Hey, about that, bud.
If anybody had to go by me, I sure as hell would rather be you.
Thank you, bud. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, teammate.
Good job, pal.
All right, buddy.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, what a great 1-2 finish for teammates. Tomorrow, the NBA playoffs continue with 2 Game 4s. It's the Bulls versus the Heat, followed by the Suns taking on the Lakers. Coverage begins at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Now stay tuned for ABC's World News or your local news over most of these ABC stations. Once again, Bobby Labonte wins the NASCAR Busch Series race at Talladega. Labonte, a 1-2 teammate sweep for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. For our entire ESPN race team, I'm Jerry Punch saying so long, everyone, from Talladega Super.